Led by Lu Ming, the Blazing Sun Army immediately tore a large hole in the enemy's formation. The 10,000 soldiers of the Yin Moon Empire were not as powerful as the Grey Wolf Army. Their strength was on par with Lu Ming's army. Naturally, they could not block Lu Ming's attack. Moreover, the morale of the Yin Moon Empire was low, and they had fewer soldiers. They were no match for the Blazing Sun Army at all. In a short while, they were scattered. On the other side, Ming Meng led the mountain army to entangle the enemy and gain the upper hand. "Everyone, move out!" Ming Meng's long roar echoed in Full Moon City. Rumble! Suddenly, a large army rushed out of Full Moon City and charged toward them. It was the 20,000 soldiers that Ming Meng had left behind to guard the city. The Yin Moon Empire was besieged and their morale was even lower. Large numbers of soldiers were killed by the Blazing Sun Empire. "Retreat! Retreat!" The general of the Yin Moon Empire shouted anxiously. He knew that they were going to lose today. If this continued, they would be completely wiped out. The general of the Yin Moon Empire led the powerful Crimson Moon Demonic Tiger Army and charged forward. Immediately, a gap was created in the mountain army led by Ming Meng. "Charge out!" The Crimson Moon Demonic Tiger Army led the way, and the other armies followed behind. The army that was fighting with Lu Ming and the rest threw away their helmets and armor and ran for their lives. "Kill!" Lu Ming shouted and chased after them. On the other side, Ming Meng led the mountain army to chase after them. The army was defeated like a landslide. Along the way, the Yin Moon Empire left behind large numbers of corpses. Half an hour later, Lu Ming and the others retreated. In this battle, only about 20,000 of the Yin Moon Empire's 50,000 soldiers escaped. 30,000 died in battle. The mountain army seized countless materials. It was a great victory. An hour later, the two armies met on the grassland outside Full Moon City. "Dad! Dad!" Myung Cheng and his siblings rushed toward Ming Meng. "Why didn't you three cultivate in the imperial capital? Why did you come back?" Ming Meng scolded with a straight face. Pearl stuck out her tongue and didn't say anything. Ming Feng giggled and said, "Father, when we heard that the Inuit army was besieging Full Moon City, we were so anxious. As your sons, how could we not fight the enemy together with you? Naturally, we came back to be with you." "Well, you are a little filial." Ming Meng's face became a little better, and he nodded. "Also this time, the imperial family sent an army to support us. The leader is Tianyun, so we naturally came back together to introduce him to you." Ming Peak said again. "Tianyun? Is that the Tianyun who killed Qiu Chonglai, the genius of the Shifeng sword sect? Where is he? Hurry up and introduce him to me." Ming Meng was shocked when he heard Tianyun's name, and he hurriedly said, "Tianyun greets General Ming." At this time, Lu Ming walked up and cupped his fists. "You are Tianyun. Haha, you are really a dragon among men. I admire you." Ming Meng laughed and cupped his fists politely. "General Ming, you are too polite. This time, Tianyun came here to fight against the Yin Moon Empire with you. If there is anything I don't understand, I would like to seek your advice." Lu Ming said politely, "I don't deserve your advice. As soon as you came, you wiped out the Yin Moon Empire's Grey Wolf Army and defeated the Yin Moon Empire's army. I should learn from you. Also, don't call me General. Call me Brother Ming." "Haha," Ming Meng said very heroically. "Brother Ming?" Lu Ming's face was strange, and he glanced at Myung Cheng and the others. Myung Cheng, Pearl, and Ming Peak's faces stiffened, and they were dumbfounded. Lu Ming called Lu Ming Brother Ming. Then, wouldn't they be a generation younger than Lu Ming? What should they call Lu Ming? Uncle? At the thought of this, the three of them were a little mad. "Haha, okay. Then I will call you Brother Ming." Lu Ming agreed unkindly, and he laughed heartily. Myung Cheng and his siblings were the complete opposite. Each of them had a bitter face, and they objected in their hearts. Chapter 305. For the next 3 days, there was no movement from the Yin Moon Empire's army. Full Moon City was peaceful. To the north of Full Moon City was the direction of the Yin Moon Empire. To the west was a boundless plateau. The terrain of this plateau was complicated. There were boundless grasslands, but there were also clusters of mountains and ridges. Ta, ta, the earth shook. Lu Ming led Xian Yanqing, Hua Ying, and a few hundred others. Ming Meng led 3,000 guards and galloped on the plateau. This plateau was usually used as a training ground for the mountain army. There were many demonic beasts roaring in groups. Roar! Lu Ming saw a group of hundreds of ferocious lions. Their bodies were shining in gold. When they saw Lu Ming's army, they roared and ran into the distance. Soon, he saw a group of several thousand 2-meter-tall black bulls galloping on the grassland. There are many demonic beasts on this plateau. If we can capture them and form an army, how strong will we be? Lu Ming laughed while riding on the green scale horse. Little brother Tianyun, you're right. However, the demonic beasts on this plateau are wild and untamed. Moreover, there aren't many of them of the same species. It's too difficult to form an army of tens of thousands of people. If we use different species, it'll be difficult to train them together and their combat strength won't be high. Ming Meng explained with a smile. Lu Ming nodded. He also understood. For example, the wild lions were not inferior to the blood moon demonic tiger. Unfortunately, it was difficult to capture more than 10,000 of them. Moreover, it was extremely difficult to tame these wild demonic beasts. The group galloped on the grassland. Along the way, they saw all kinds of demonic beasts. Some moved alone while others moved in groups. Roar! Suddenly, a roar came from the front. A murderous aura filled the air. Ta, ta. Then, they heard a group of wild lions, giant bears, and other demonic beasts galloping toward them. All of the demonic beasts' eyes were filled with panic and fear. Roar! Wolf howls came from behind. Then, Lu Ming and the others saw a dozen blood shadows galloping toward them. Taking a closer look, it wasn't a blood shadow, but a dozen huge wolves. These giant wolves looked extremely strange. Each of them was over 2 meters tall and 4 meters long. Their bodies were blood red and covered with blood-red scales. Even their legs were covered with scales. Only the fiery red hair on his neck looked like a ball of flame. Roar! A berserk lion was being chased by a giant wolf. It was unable to resist at all and was sent flying with a swipe of its paw. Then, the berserk lion's neck was bitten off. What a mighty giant wolf! What powerful strength! Lu Ming's eyes flashed as he exclaimed in admiration. These are crimson blood-scaled wolves. The weakest of these crimson blood-scaled wolves is equivalent to a 7th-layer martial grandmaster. There are even 2 first-layer martial ancestor. They definitely came from the depths of the plateau. Ming Meng exclaimed in surprise. Roar! Roar! At this moment, when the demonic beasts in front saw Lu Ming and the others, they all took a detour and fled far away. However, the crimson blood-scaled wolves stopped in front of Lu Ming and the others. They looked at Lu Ming and the others ferociously and kept howling. They had no intention of running away. These crimson blood-scaled wolves are definitely the best mounts. Lu Ming looked at the crimson blood-scaled wolves with interest and said, "That's right. These crimson blood-scaled wolves are said to have the bloodline of a flood dragon. Their bodies are invulnerable and they run like the wind. They are definitely the best mounts. If you have an army of tens of thousands of crimson blood-scaled wolves, you will be invincible. Unfortunately, perhaps the crimson blood-scaled wolves really do have the bloodline of a flood dragon. They are extremely arrogant and unruly. It is extremely difficult to tame them. Even if you use strength to suppress them, they would rather die than submit. The Een Moon Empire also covets the crimson blood-scaled wolves, but they have been helpless for so many years." Ming Meng explained. Lu Ming was a little disappointed. He originally wanted to build a strong army. Humph, it's just a beast. I don't believe that I can't tame it. Hua Ying snorted and said unwillingly. He then rushed out and pounced on the crimson blood-scaled wolves. Roar! The crimson blood-scaled wolves roared and pounced on Hua Ying to counterattack. "Get lost!" Hua Ying shouted and threw out a few punches. Bang! Bang! Some of the martial master realm crimson blood-scaled wolves were sent flying. They rolled on the ground for a few rounds before they got up and shook off the mud on their bodies. They were fine. As for the 2 martial ancestor realm LV1 demonic beasts, They were only pushed back a few steps. On the other hand, Hua Ying's body swayed a little. What a strong force! Let's see if I can't tame you. Hua Ying shouted and rushed forward, throwing out punches. Hua Ying's cultivation was high. The crimson blood-scaled wolves were naturally no match for him and were sent flying. Hua Ying targeted a martial ancestor realm LV1 crimson blood-scaled wolf and rode on it to tame it. Roar! The crimson blood-scaled wolf let out an earth-shattering roar as if its dignity had been insulted. It was furious and its body shook and jumped wildly. At the same time, a blazing flame emerged from its body and enveloped Hua Ying. Kneel down! Hua Ying shouted and used all his strength to suppress the crimson blood-scaled wolf. Hua Ying was a martial ancestor realm LV3 martial ancestor realm bloodline. When he used all his strength, it was as if a mountain was pressing on the crimson blood-scaled wolf's back. The crimson blood-scaled wolf kept roaring, but it could not resist and was pressed down. However, it did not give in. It kept struggling and roaring, looking extremely ferocious. Give in or I'll kill you! Hua Ying shouted. Roar! The crimson blood-scaled wolf responded to him with a roar. Damn it! Hua Ying continued to suppress it. After a while, Hua Ying was sweating profusely, but the crimson blood-scaled wolf still did not give in. It's really untamed. Lu Ming sighed. At the same time, he felt that it was a pity. The crimson blood-scaled wolves were not too strong. As long as there were some of them who were equivalent to martial masters, they could form an army and it would be terrifying. Roar! At this moment, there was an earth-shattering roar. 2 rays of bloody light came from afar at an incredible speed. In a few breaths, they were in front of Hua Ying. One of them pounced on Hua Ying. Hua Ying was shocked and threw out a punch. Boom! With a loud bang, Hua Ying's body was pushed back a dozen meters. At this moment, he could see clearly that there were 2 more crimson blood-scaled wolves. These 2 crimson blood-scaled wolves were extremely majestic and bigger than the other crimson blood-scaled wolves. They are equivalent to martial ancestor realm LV3. Lu Ming muttered. What's going on? What's going on today? Why are there so many martial ancestor realm crimson blood-scaled wolves? Normally, they would hide in the depths of the plateau. Why are there so many of them today? Ming Meng was extremely surprised. Roar! The 2 martial ancestor realm LV3 crimson blood-scaled wolves roared and stared at Lu Ming and the others. Then with a roar, they turned and ran towards the plateau. The other crimson blood-scaled wolves followed closely behind. Lu Ming, how about we make a bet? Chapter 306. A bet. Lu Ming was stunned. That's right. Let's bet with these 2 crimson blood-scale wolves. These 2 crimson blood-scale wolves are at the 3rd level of the martial ancestor realm. Let's see who can tame them first. Whoever tames them first wins. The loser has to agree to a condition of the winner. Do you dare to bet with me? Xian Yanqing turned her eyes and said. Hearing this, the surrounding people looked at the 2 of them with great interest. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing stood together like a golden couple. Since the imperial capital, Xian Yanqing had been following Lu Ming. Naturally, the others thought that the 2 of them had a special relationship. Now that Xian Yanqing proposed a bet with Lu Ming, the others naturally thought that it was a flirting between the 2 of them. By the side, Ming Zhu looked at the peerless Xian Yanqing and sighed in her heart. She thought that perhaps only a beauty like Xian Yanqing was worthy of Lu Ming. The distance between her and Lu Ming was too far. In the future, it would only grow further. After sighing, Pearl hid her thoughts in the bottom of her heart. She smiled and looked at Lu Ming. Why wouldn't I? Lu Ming said with a smile. All right, let's begin. Xian Yanqing revealed a cunning look. She moved and turned into a ray of light, chasing after the crimson blood-scale wolves. Lu Ming smiled. Similarly, his figure moved and he stepped into the air. Let's go and have a look. Ming Meng and the others chased after them on horseback. However, after a while, they could no longer see Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Forget it, let's wait for them here. Ming Meng said. The others nodded and waited. The crimson blood-scale wolves ran at a terrifying speed on the grassland. However, with Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing chasing after them, they caught up in a short while. Whoosh! With a slight movement, Xian Yanqing lunged at a third-layer martial ancestor realm crimson blood-scaled wolf. Roar! That crimson blood-scale wolf roared, opened its mouth, and actually spat out a pillar of fire, rushing towards Xian Yanqing. However, Xian Yanqing waved his hand and sent out a palm strike. The fire pillar was dispersed, and Xian Yanqing easily stepped on the back of the crimson blood-scale wolf. Roar! The crimson blood-scale wolf suddenly went crazy, and issued a furious roar. Its body crazily swung, and it wanted to throw Xian Yanqing off. But Xian Yanqing's true qi burst forth, forming a terrifying pressure, suppressing the crimson blood-scale wolf. However, the crimson blood-scale wolf howled and refused to submit. On the other side, Lu Ming was also standing on the back of the crimson blood-scale wolf, using his martial arts to suppress it. But at the same time, the crimson blood-scale wolf went crazy and refused to submit. Actually, it was not difficult for Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing to kill these two crimson blood-scale wolves. It was very simple. However, they did not want to kill them, but to tame them. In this way they could not use too much strength, or else they would kill the crimson blood-scale wolves in an instant. They could only use an appropriate amount of strength to suppress the crimson blood-scale wolves and wear down their ferocious qi. Only then could they slowly tame them. This was a process of exhaustion. Roar! Roar! The two third-layer martial ancestor realm crimson blood-scale wolves kept howling and leaping, trying to throw Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing off. However, the two of them stood firmly on the backs of the crimson blood-scale wolves. Just like this, the two crimson blood-scale wolves abandoned the other crimson blood-scale wolves and ran towards the depths of the plateau while howling. The crimson blood-scale wolves were too fast, and they passed by mountains and rivers as if they were flat ground. Soon, they had crossed 1,000 miles. Here, the grassland had disappeared and was replaced by endless plateaus and mountains. The two crimson blood-scale wolves kept howling and leaping through the forest. Soon, they had crossed another 1,000 miles into the plateau. Roar! Roar! Suddenly, the howls of wolves echoed from afar, echoing the howls of the two crimson blood-scale wolves. Hearing the howls of the wolves around them, the two crimson blood-scale wolves howled even louder, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Roar! Roar! The howls of the wolves became denser and came from all directions. Then, one after another, tall and majestic figures appeared from all directions. Crimson blood-scale wolves. Crimson blood-scale wolves appeared all around them. The crimson blood-scale wolves looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing with murderous intent and howled continuously. There are so many crimson blood-scale wolves. Is this a wolf den? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The howls of the wolves were endless. Lu Ming looked around and realized that most of the crimson blood-scale wolves were second-grade demonic beasts, which were equivalent to martial masters. Only a small portion of them were third-grade demonic beasts. There are so many crimson blood-scale wolves. If we used them as mounts and formed an army, how powerful would that be? Lu Ming's heart could not help but burn with passion. Roar! Roar! Suddenly, two howls of the wolves were heard. These two howls were earth-shattering and pierced through the clouds. After these two howls, the other crimson blood-scale wolves in all directions quieted down. Not a single sound was heard. Within a radius of 10 miles, the other demonic beasts did not even dare to breathe loudly. It was incomparably silent. That was. In the next moment, Lu Ming saw two crimson blood-scale wolves walking out from the tallest mountain peak. These two crimson blood-scale wolves were extremely tall and sturdy. They were at least 3 meters tall, and their bodies were covered with fiery red scales that seemed to be polished from fiery jade. They were sparkling and translucent, as if there were traces of flames jumping out from them. An extremely powerful aura burst out from the two crimson blood-scale wolves. Peak 6th grade demonic beasts. They are equivalent to peak 6th grade martial ancestor realm. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly moved. Woo-woo. At this moment, the other crimson blood-scale wolves whimpered and prostrated themselves, as if they were welcoming the arrival of their king. Could these two crimson blood-scale wolves be the wolf kings of this pack? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as he thought of this possibility. Judging from the situation, it should not be wrong. Roar! Roar! The two crimson blood-scale wolves suddenly roared and leaped into the air, pouncing toward Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing did not dare to be careless. They unleashed their full strength and met the wolves head-on. Boom! Boom! With two loud bangs, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were both sent flying. What a strong power! Although the Crimson Blood Wolf King is only a Class 6 LV4 demonic beast, its combat strength is not comparable to an ordinary Class 6 LV4 demonic beast. It is at least a Class 7 LV4 demonic beast. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Roar! Roar! The two Crimson Bloodscale Wolf Kings roared and pounced toward Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. The two of them engaged in a fierce battle. However, Xian Yanqing was at a disadvantage as soon as the battle began. He was no match for the wolves. Lu Ming was slightly better, but he was also at a disadvantage. With Lu Ming's current combat strength, he could easily defeat a normal 6th grade martial ancestor realm martial artist. However, he was no match for a 7th grade martial ancestor realm martial artist. Bang! Bang! After a few moves, Lu Ming's muscles trembled and he was forced to retreat. He was at a disadvantage. Bang! On the other side, Xian Yanqing was sent flying and landed beside Lu Ming, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. However, she did not make a sound and did not escape. It seemed that she would not leave if Lu Ming did not leave. She was very stubborn. Roar! Chapter 307. Xueqi, why don't we leave this place first? Lu Ming said. With the two wolf kings here, it was impossible for them to tame the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolf today. No, I don't believe that I can't tame it, Xian Yanqing said stubbornly. Lu Ming was speechless. This girl is throwing a tantrum again. It's just a fake Wolf King. Let's see if they dare to be arrogant in front of the real Wolf King. Xian Yanqing snorted and quickly formed a seal with both hands. Then, layers of black light emitted from Xian Yanqing's body. Slowly, the black light formed a giant silver wolf in the air. Moon Howl Wolf! Lu Ming could not help but exclaim. Lu Ming was very familiar with this giant silver wolf. Back in the Dongi tribe's ancestral remains, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing each obtained half of the Moon Howl Wolf's beast soul. Later on, in the Battle of White Tiger Hall, Lu Ming merged with half of the Beast King's soul and killed Lu Yunxiong and Duan Mulin. He was very familiar with this giant silver wolf. He did not expect Xian Yanqing to condense the Moon Howl Wolf at this moment. However, Lu Ming could tell that it was not a beast soul, but something that had been condensed. It was a manifestation of a cultivation technique. The Moon Howl Wolf's aura had weakened significantly. Awoo! The Moon Howl Wolf let out an earth-shattering howl and a supreme aura spread out. Although it was only half of a Moon Howl Wolf and had been condensed, the Moon Howl Wolf was a real Beast King when it was alive. The aura of a superior being was extremely powerful. Woo-woo! Countless Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves let out woo-woo-woo sounds. They lowered their heads and looked at the Moon Howl Wolf in the air in awe. The Moon Howl Wolf was silver and white. It stood in the air, looking mighty and powerful as it howled continuously. Slowly, some of the level 4 Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves also lowered their heads. Roar! Roar! However, the two Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolf Kings continued to howl as they looked at the Moon Howl Wolf in the sky. Although they were afraid, they did not submit. Furthermore, an ominous glint flashed in his eyes, as if he would pounce on Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing at any moment. It seems like the two Wolf Kings are very difficult to tame. Lu Ming thought. Roar! The Moon Howl Wolf in the air howled at the sky, its entire body emitting a dazzling silver light. At that moment, Lu Ming's body also emitted a silver glow. Then, the silver glow condensed into a huge moon-howling wolf in the sky. What happened? Lu Ming was shocked. Could it be that the remnant of the Moon Howl Heavenly Wolf that remained in my body after I fused with the soul of the Moon Howl Heavenly Wolf? Now, it has been activated by the other half of the Moon Howl Heavenly Wolf in Xian Yanqing, causing it to appear. Lu Ming's mind raced as he thought of this. This was the only explanation that made sense. The Moon Howl Wolf condensed on Lu Ming's body howled at the sky, emitting a mighty aura. The rest of the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves were lying on the ground. Some of the low-level ones were even trembling. Even a few level 4 Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves were lying on the ground, not daring to move. Only the two Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolf Kings continued to howl. However, a trace of fear finally appeared in their eyes. At that moment, The moonhowl wolf above Xian Yanqing's head and the moonhowl wolf above Lu Ming's head merged into an even larger moonhowl wolf. Roar! The moonhowl wolf howled and emitted an extremely powerful kingly aura. It was an aura that was innate to the wolf tribe. It was superior and could not be provoked. The two crimson blood-scaled wolf kings began to tremble, their eyes filled with fear. The moonhowl wolf stood in the air, looking down at the two crimson blood-scaled wolf kings. There seemed to be a hint of displeasure in its eyes. Woo-woo! The two crimson blood-scaled wolf kings were finally afraid. They crawled on the ground and whimpered like two domestic puppies. Tamed. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Roar! The moon-howling heavenly wolf let out an angry roar. The two crimson blood-scaled wolf kings suddenly trembled and actually stood up shakily. They crawled to Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's side and lay down obediently. It's true, Lu Ming muttered. He was overjoyed. He moved and rode on the back of one of the crimson blood-scaled wolf kings. The crimson blood-scaled wolf king did not resist and behaved obediently. On the other side, Xian Yanqing also rode on the other crimson blood-scaled wolf king. That one was also obedient. Lu Ming took a glance and discovered that Xian Yanqing's wolf was a female while Lu Ming's wolf was a male. It was no wonder there were two wolf kings. Haha, Shao Qing, a male and a female. They make a pair, just like you and me. Lu Ming laughed. Who's a pair with you? Dream on. Xian Yanqing snorted and rolled his eyes at Lu Ming. Lu Ming grinned. He was just joking and did not take it to heart. At this moment, the moonhowl wolves howled in the air and turned into two rays of light again. They fell into Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's bodies and disappeared. The powerful pressure between heaven and earth also disappeared. Roar! The two crimson blood-scaled wolf kings growled and stood up. However, they did not go crazy and did not resist. They seemed to have been completely tamed. Maybe, Xian Yanqing and I still have the aura of the moonhowl wolves on us. That's why we can tame these two wolf kings. Lu Ming guessed. He patted the crimson blood-scaled wolf king and said, "Call all your subordinates and follow me." Roar! Roar! The two crimson blood-scaled wolf kings were very obedient. They let out two long howls that spread for dozens of miles. The other crimson blood-scaled wolves howled and gathered from all directions. In the end, the surroundings were densely packed with crimson blood-scaled wolves. There were so many of them that one could not see the end of it. So many. Lu Ming was stunned. Then he was overjoyed. Lu Ming took a closer look and discovered that there were more than 8,000 crimson blood-scaled wolves all over the mountains. Most of them were LV2 demonic beasts. A small portion were LV3 demonic beasts. There were even dozens of LV4 demonic beasts. LV4 demonic beasts were equivalent to martial ancestor realm martial artists. I'm rich, I'm rich. Lu Ming roared in his heart. What are you so happy about? Don't forget that it's all thanks to me that we can tame the crimson blood-scaled wolves. If it were you, you would have run away, coward. Xian Yanqing curled his lips and said disdainfully. Yes, yes, it's all thanks to you. Lu Ming was in a good mood and did not argue with Xian Yanqing. You lost the bet this time. You won't go back on your word, right? Xian Yanqing said. Hey, I also contributed to the taming of the Wolf King. How can it be considered my loss? Lu Ming said. What contribution? If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have had the chance to tame the Wolf King. Are you trying to go back on your word? If you go back on your word, I'll spread the news of you going back on your word in the camp. Xian Yanqing gritted his teeth. In the end, Lu Ming could only compromise and agree to Xian Yanqing's condition. What condition? Say it. As long as I can do it, I won't refuse. Lu Ming said. It's not time yet. When the time comes, I'll tell you. Xian Yanqing smiled slyly and rode away on the crimson blood-scaled Wolf King. Lu Ming followed on the Wolf King. Chapter 308. On the grassland 2,000 miles away, Ming Meng, Hua Ying, and the others were waiting anxiously. Why hasn't the general returned after so long? Could something have happened? Gao Li frowned. I don't think so. With the general's cultivation, he should be able to escape even if he can't defeat those below the martial ancestor realm. Huaring said. However, there was a worried look in his eyes. Ever since they had pledged allegiance to Lu Ming, they had been thinking for Lu Ming. Ming Meng, Miangcheng, and the others were also anxious as they looked in the direction that Lu Ming and the others had left. Rumble! At that moment, the ground started to shake as if thousands of soldiers and horses were galloping. Ming Meng's face changed and he shouted, "Oh no, there's a large group of demonic beasts coming. This is a beast tide. Listen to my orders. Get into formation and prepare for battle." As soon as he finished speaking, the 3,000 guards that Ming Meng had brought with him got into formation and drew their longbows, ready for a bloody battle. Rumble! The shaking became more and more violent as if there were many huge creatures galloping. Ming Meng and the others looked more and more serious. Howl! Howl! At that moment, loud wolf howls came from the depths of the plateau and pierced through the clouds. Oh no, that's the howls of the crimson blood-scaled wolves. Why are there so many of them? Where are Brother Tianyun and the others? Ming Meng shouted. The others were also shocked. They did not know how many crimson blood-scaled wolves there were, but they were sure that they did not have enough people. How could they fight? Retreat! Retreat! Let's rush back to Full Moon City first. Ming Meng shouted. Let's go! They turned their horses around and rushed back. That's the general and Miss Xian Yanqing. Suddenly, a loud shout sounded. It came from a youth in the Star Cluster Hall. What? Ming Meng and the others hurriedly looked in that direction. At the end of the ground, there was a boundless red color. From afar, it looked like a fiery red sunset. Upon closer look, it was not a sunset. It was clearly a crimson blood-scaled wolf with a strong physique. As far as the eye could see, the ground was filled with crimson blood-scaled wolves. They covered the sky and covered the earth as an extremely dense baleful aura filled the air. Some of the more timid people's calves began to tremble. In front of the endless horde of crimson blood-scale wolves, there were two of the tallest crimson blood-scale wolves. There was a person sitting on each of the two scarlet bloods. It was Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. It's really Brother Tianyun and Miss Xie. But what's going on? Why are they riding on the crimson blood-scale wolves? Ming Meng was dumbfounded. Could it be that General and the others are being chased by crimson blood-scale wolves? Impossible. The two crimson blood-scale wolves they are riding seem to have the strongest aura, but they aren't resisting. Could it be that they have already tamed them? Tamed? That's impossible, right? Hua Ying and some other young experts were discussing among themselves. Roar! Roar! At this moment, the crimson blood-scale wolf king that Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were riding on let out two roars. Then, the horde of crimson blood-scale wolves gradually slowed down. Finally, they began to walk slowly towards Ming Meng and the others. This is the crimson blood-scale wolf king? Could it be that the crimson blood-scale wolf king has been tamed? How is that possible? Ming Meng's eyes widened and his mouth dropped open in disbelief. Those who were originally from Full Moon City also widened their eyes and mouths as they stared blankly. At this moment, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were not far away. Brother Tianyun, you tamed these two crimson blood-scale wolf kings? Ming Meng asked in a daze. Haha, Brother Ming Meng, I was lucky to succeed. We chased after the previous two, but we didn't expect to run into the crimson blood-scale wolf king's lair. We were lucky to have tamed these two crimson blood-scale wolf kings, so we asked the wolf king to order all the crimson blood-scale wolves to be brought here. Lu Ming explained. Oh, lucky? Ming Meng's lips were trembling, and one of his hands was tugging at his beard. Until now, he was still in shock, as if he was in a dream. The 3,000 guards he brought were not any better. They all thought they were dreaming. Taming the crimson blood-scale wolf king? But no one had ever heard of anyone succeeding. Now, Lu Ming had succeeded as soon as he came, and even brought back a nest of crimson blood-scale wolves. Brother Tianyun is invincible. Ming Peak reacted quickly and shouted. Then, he ran to Lu Ming's side and said, Brother Tianyun, can you give me a crimson blood-scale wolf as a mount? After a few days of hesitation, Miangcheng and his siblings decided to be friends with Lu Ming, regardless of how their father and Lu Ming addressed him. Otherwise, they would really have to call him Uncle Lu Ming. Of course, you can choose one yourself. Lu Ming smiled. Thank you so much, Brother Tianyin. Ming Peak was overjoyed. He immediately picked a Class 3 LV6 Crimson Blood Scale Wolf and rode on it. Roar! As soon as Ming Peak rode on it, the Crimson Blood Scale Wolf let out a furious roar. Roar! At this moment, Lu Ming patted the Wolf King that he was riding and the Wolf King let out a loud roar. Immediately, the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolf became obedient and whined. Ren Ming Feng rode on it. Haha, let's go! Ming Peak patted the Crimson Blood-Scale Wolf, and it immediately roared and rushed out like a gust of wind. After a while, it ran back. Haha, awesome, this is awesome! Ming Peak laughed. This made the others unable to stand it. General, give me one! Hua Ying shouted. General, I want one too! The other young men shouted. You can choose one yourselves. Lu Ming waved his hand and said. Hua Ying and the others were overjoyed. They were all martial arts grandmasters, so they naturally chose Class 4 mounts. Hua Ying picked a Class 4 LV4, which was equivalent to a martial arts grandmaster realm LV4. The others also picked suitable mounts. For a moment, the wolves howled and the red light leaped on the grassland. They were all trying out their new mounts. This is awesome! This is a real mount. With a mount like this, killing enemies will be as easy as pie. Hua Ying and the others laughed. Ming Meng looked on enviously. With his status, he was too embarrassed to ask Lu Ming for one. Brother Ming Meng, this one is for you. Lu Ming waved his hand, and a tall and burly Crimson Blood Scale Wolf came forward, exuding a powerful aura. This was a Class 4 LV5 Crimson Blood Scale Wolf, second only to the two Wolf Kings in the wolf pack. Brother Tianyin, how can I accept this? Although he said that, his eyes were fixed on the Crimson Blood Scale Wolf, and he could not move his eyes away. Brother Ming Meng, why are you being so polite with me? Take it and ride it. Lu Ming said with a smile. Okay, then I won't stand on ceremony. Ming Meng was overjoyed. He hurriedly jumped on the Crimson Blood Scale Wolf and controlled it to run a big circle. The smile on his face could not fade. Let's go back to the barracks. Lu Ming waved his hand and said. Instantly, more than 8,000 Crimson Blood Scale Wolves followed Lu Ming and the others to the barracks of Moonview City. Along the way, Ming Meng's 3,000 guards looked at the Crimson Blood Scale Wolves with envy. Chapter 309. When Lu Ming and the others returned to Full Moon City, it naturally caused a huge commotion. The entire Full Moon City was shaken. The 100,000 Mountain Suppression Army was even more shocked and envious. As for Lu Ming's 18,000 troops, they were extremely excited. They knew that the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves would definitely be assigned to them. Sure enough, from the next day onwards, Lu Ming began to select 8,000 of the strongest soldiers from the 18,000 troops and assigned each of them a Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolf. In this army of 8,000, everyone's cultivation was at least at the 9th level of the Martial Warrior realm. Among them, 2,000 were at the Martial Master realm and about 100 were at the Great Martial Master realm. 8,000 people formed a Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolf cavalry. Those who were assigned the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves were elated and excited. A powerful mount meant that their battle prowess was stronger. On the battlefield, not only did they have a higher chance of survival, but they also had a higher chance of killing the enemy and making contributions. All of them were extremely grateful to Lu Ming. Many of them even secretly swore to follow Lu Ming to death. As for those who were not assigned the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves, although they were envious, they were not jealous. They knew that the reason why they were not assigned the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves was because their cultivation was not enough. And Lu Ming was a peerless genius whose name shook the Blazing Sun Empire. His future was limitless. They secretly swore to follow Lu Ming well and cultivate diligently. There would be benefits sooner or later. Lu Ming did not expect that this move would make the army under him trust him even more. It also made him more prestigious. 2 days later. Rumble. On the prairie, a Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolf cavalry whistled past like a gust of wind. Their aura was earth-shattering and stirred up the wind and clouds. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing rode at the front. The wind whistled and hit their faces, but the light in Lu Ming's eyes became brighter and brighter. As a man, What could make one's blood boil more than leading an iron-blooded army and making contributions on the battlefield with a beauty beside him? Roar! Roar! The howls of wolves could be heard as the 8,000 cavalrymen whistled through the air. On the grassland, when the other demonic beasts saw this, they all ran away madly, not daring to stop for even a moment. In the distance, Ming Meng and his army watched in shock. In the face of such power, most of the mountain-crushing army were terrified. Who can stop such an army? Ming Meng sighed. It's a pity that there are only 8,000 of them. Moreover, the cultivation base of each knight is too low. Otherwise, they might have become a special force to fight against the Een Moon Empire. Beside Ming Meng, a deputy general sighed. That's right. The Een Moon Empire's Blood Moon Demonic Tiger Legion and Grey Wolf Legion each have 100,000 soldiers. If they all attack together, Tianyun's 8,000 red blood cavalrymen will be no match for them. Another deputy general sighed. Don't ask for too much. 8,000 Qi Xia armored cavalry is equivalent to 100,000 ordinary soldiers. For my moon city, this is a great thing, Ming Meng said. In the next few days, the Een Moon Empire didn't make any moves. Lu Ming took the red blood-scaled wolves to practice on the grassland. He wanted to get the soldiers and their mounts to know each other better. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. The 8,000 soldiers and the red blood-scaled wolves were getting along well. On the 6th day, a message suddenly came. The Northern Army, which was 3,000 miles away from the Moon City, sent an urgent message asking for help from the mountain-crushing army. They were under attack from the Een Moon Empire. General Ming, it's urgent. I will take the red blood cavalrymen to ask for help first. In the big tent of the military camp, Lu Ming and Ming Meng were discussing this matter. Lu Ming directly proposed to take the red blood cavalrymen to help first. The Northern Army was another powerful army of the royal family in the north. It and the mountain-crushing army complemented each other. Once the Northern Army was destroyed, the mountain-crushing army would be in danger too. Therefore, when the Northern Army was in danger, they had to help. The red blood cavalrymen were the fastest, so they were the most suitable ones to go first. All right. Brother Tianyun, go first. The Northern Army will follow, Ming Meng said. After a while, the red blood cavalrymen rushed out of the camp like the wind, heading for the Northern Army's North City. The red blood cavalrymen only needed 4 hours to travel 3,000 miles. The red blood cavalrymen could travel tens of thousands of miles in a day. When Lu Ming and the others arrived at a grassland 100 miles away from the Northern Army, they saw countless people fighting. There were at least hundreds of thousands of people fighting together. Their shouts shook the sky. Grey Wolf Army, Blood Moon Demonic Tiger Army. Lu Ming saw 2 armies in the Een Moon Army, each with about 10,000 people. They were extremely powerful and were fiercely attacking the Northern Army. The Northern Army had about 60 or 70,000 people. They were surrounded by the Een Moon Empire's army and were constantly attacking. The smell of blood filled the grassland. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. He and Xian Yanqing rode in the front, rushing towards the Grey Wolf Army. Howl! Howl! Apparently, the Grey Wolf Army had also noticed Lu Ming and the others. They gathered their forces and rushed towards Lu Ming and the others. However, halfway through the charge, the Grey Wolf Army let out a terrified cry. What is that? Oh my God! Are those red blood scale wolves? How is that possible? They are red blood scale wolves. They are an army of red blood scale wolves. Countless people in the Grey Wolf Army looked forward in fear. Howl! Howl! The red blood scale wolves roared. Their eyes turned red as they rushed forward. Howl! The Grey Wolf cavalrymen's mounts started to howl in fear and slowed down. Damn it! Go! Go! Don't be afraid! The general of the Grey Wolf Army roared. He cut the wolf's skin with his saber and made it bleed. The others did the same. They all cut the wolf's skin. The wounded wolf became even more ferocious. It suppressed its fear and rushed towards the red blood cavalrymen. Kill! Destroy the Grey Wolf Army! Lu Ming shouted. His voice was full of killing intent. The first army he had encountered was the Grey Wolf Army. In that battle, they had ambushed the Grey Wolf Army. They had the advantage in numbers and had lost 2,000 men. Lu Ming was still brooding over that. Now that he saw the other Grey Wolf army, he was naturally filled with killing intent. Kill! The other red blood cavalrymen felt the same as Lu Ming. They all roared and rushed forward. Bang! The two armies finally clashed. However, the seemingly powerful Grey Wolf army was as weak as tofu in front of the red blood cavalrymen. The moment the two armies clashed, the Grey Wolf army was torn in half. Miserable cries filled the air. Howl! The red blood scale wolves were extremely ferocious. They roared and slashed out with their claws, tearing the Grey Wolf cavalrymen and their wolves in half. In a short moment, the Grey Wolf army's formation had been torn in half by the red blood cavalrymen. It was a mess and thousands of corpses were left behind. Kill! Lu Ming turned around. The 8,000 red blood cavalrymen followed him and charged towards the remaining Grey Wolf army. This was a battle without any suspense. The difference in strength was too great. It was a one-sided slaughter. Ah! Run! Save me! Don't kill me! Run! Chapter 310. Devour. Lu Ming manipulated the Nine Dragons' bloodline, and a terrifying devouring force was attached to his left palm. His left palm was like a black hole, and Lu Ming devoured the essence blood. Wherever he went, regardless of whether it was the blood essence of humans or the blood essence of the ash wolf, they were all devoured and refined. This time, Lu Ming used half of his essence blood to increase his cultivation. Although the Grey Wolf cavalry was not strong individually, they had the advantage in numbers. His cultivation base was slowly rising. Kill! Kill! The red blood cavalry's battle cries shook the sky. They kept reaping the lives of the Grey Wolf cavalry. The battle on the other side was alerted by the noise. The Grey Wolf cavalry is about to be destroyed. Our reinforcements are here. The northern battlefront army shouted. The Moon Empire's army was shocked. Send reinforcements to the Grey Wolf cavalry. Quick! A general roared. All of a sudden, a group of 20,000 ordinary cavalry charged toward Lu Ming and the rest. Kill! Kill them all! Lu Ming roared and dashed toward the 20,000-strong army. The other red blood cavalry followed him. The 10,000 Grey Wolf cavalry were almost wiped out. Only a few hundred of them were left. They were running away in fear. The Xie armored cavalry once again formed into a sharp knife formation and rushed towards the enemy. This time, it was even more one-sided. The 20,000 Grey Wolf cavalry were defeated as soon as they came into contact. The red blood-scaled wolves roared and the enemy's mounts trembled. Their fighting strength was greatly reduced. The red blood-scaled wolves waved their claws and tore apart several cavalrymen. They could not resist at all. It was still a massacre. Reinforcements. Send the signal. Ask for reinforcements. An exasperated shout came from the Moon Empire's army. Following that, streaks of smoke and fire flew up into the sky, forming multiple moons. The fierce battle continued. The Crimson Blood-Scale Wolf entered the battlefield for the first time, displaying its unparalleled battle prowess. Facing enemies several times its size, it easily tore apart the enemy's battle formation and slaughtered the enemy's cavalry. Corpses were everywhere. Corpses were everywhere. During the battle, Lu Ming's cultivation broke through and reached the middle stage of the second martial Grandmaster realm. Rumble! Not long after, a deafening tremor resounded between heaven and earth. In the distance, tiger roars came from the Crimson Moon demonic tigers. The army of Crimson Moon demonic tigers was rushing toward them. There were 20,000 Crimson Moon demonic tigers. Together with the previous 10,000 Crimson Moon demonic tigers, there were 30,000 of them. Kill! Kill that red blood-scaled wolf cavalry. The Crimson Moon demonic tigers were led by a general in red blood cavalry. He was strong blood-scaled wolf, holding a mace. What a powerful aura! This is the aura of the 7th level martial ancestor realm. Blood-scaled wolves was red blood tiger cavalry kill. Without hesitation, Lu Ming led the 8,000 red blood iron cavalry and charged toward the 20,000 Crimson Moon demonic tiger legion. The two armies drew closer and closer to each other. Die, brat! The blood-armored general roared and smashed the mace in his hand toward Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! The mace smashed through the air, causing the space to tremble violently. Golden Eye! Lu Ming's mind flickered, and the golden-eyed blood zombie beside him roared and charged towards the crimson-armored man. Boom! Boom! The golden-eyed blood zombie and the blood-armored general were locked in a fierce battle. Whoosh! Lu Ming thrust out his spear, the power of wind and fire fusing and erupting. Bang! A fifth martial ancestor realm expert had his heart pierced by Lu Ming's spear and fell to the ground. Lu Ming rushed over and devoured his essence blood, refining it with extreme speed. Following that, the spear swept out, and 100-meter-long spear light swept out. Dozens of Blood Moon Devil Tiger cavalry were blown apart, and their flesh and armor fragments scattered all over the ground. Kill! The two sides engaged in a fierce battle. The battle was incomparably fierce. Boom! Boom! The golden-eyed blood zombie roared and attacked the blood-armored general without fear of death. For a moment, the blood-armored general was at a complete disadvantage. Beast Dao Palm. Lu Ming struck out with his palm, and a huge beast palm flew towards the blood-armored general. Great demonic palm print. Not far away, Xian Yanqing also struck out a few palms, and a pitch-black palm print flew towards the blood-armored general. Bang! Bang! Although the blood-armored general was fierce, he could not withstand the ferocious attacks of the golden-eyed blood zombie. In addition, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were besieging him. His body shook violently, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood as he retreated quickly. Chi. However, the golden-eyed blood zombie would not miss this opportunity. He pounced on the blood-armored general, and his fingernails were sharper than sabers. In an instant, he tore the blood-armored general's armor into pieces. Lu Ming rushed forward and devoured the blood-armored general's essence blood. This was the essence blood of a 7th martial ancestor realm martial artist, and it was shocking. Lu Ming continued to refine it, and his cultivation level began to rise rapidly. The general has been killed. Someone in the Blood Moon Devil Tiger cavalry shouted. The commander of the Blood Moon Devil Tiger cavalry had been killed, and their morale had plummeted. On the other hand, the Red Blood cavalry's morale had soared. General Tianyun is invincible. General Tianyun is invincible. The Red Blood cavalry roared as they charged towards the enemy. Slowly, the Crimson Blood Fiend Tiger army began to crumble. In a battle, victory and defeat were decided by a hair's breadth. Once they collapsed, they would be defeated like a landslide. Kill! The Red Blood cavalry's eyes were bloodshot as they charged towards the enemy. Hold on, hold on! The deputy general of the Blood Moon Devil Tiger cavalry roared. He tried to hold on and turn the tide, but it was all in vain. The Blood Moon Devil Tiger cavalry was doomed. Boom! Boom! In the distance there were explosions in the sky. Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning as he looked in that direction. There was also an intense battle going on in the sky a few miles away. That was the battlefield of the experts, because the people fighting there were all experts of the martial ancestor realm and above. There were 40 to 50 people fighting in the sky. Lu Ming discovered that there were experts of the Mystic Essence Sword sect and the Ghost Moon Saber sect. The others were undoubtedly experts of the Een Moon Empire. That's Autumn Moon. In the crowd, Lu Ming suddenly saw a familiar figure. It was Autumn Moon. Obviously, after not seeing him for such a long time, Autumn Moon had reached the martial ancestor realm. Huaring, I'll leave the Red Blood cavalry to you for the time being. All of a sudden, Lu Ming's shout could be heard from afar. Huaring was startled. Although he did not understand the reason, he immediately replied, yes. On the battlefield, one only needed to obey. Good. I'll leave the Red Blood cavalry to you, Lu Ming said. There was no suspense in the battle here. Hua Ying was well versed in the art of commanding, so Lu Ming was relieved to leave it to him. Gold Eye, let's go. Lu Ming moved and leaped from the crimson blood-scaled Wolf King's body, flying toward the distant sky. The Gold Eye blood zombie followed closely behind Lu Ming. They covered the distance of a few miles in an instant. Who's there? Chapter 3:11. I'm here to kill you. Lu Ming could not be bothered to talk to him as he stabbed out with his spear. Fiery Wind Kill. The man was only of martial ancestor realm 3, and was unable to defend himself against Lu Ming's attack. He was killed by the spear in the air. Then, Lu Ming looked around and analyzed the situation. Most of the experts of the Burning Sun Empire were from the Mystic Essence Sword sect and the Ghost Moon Saber sect. It was obvious that they were at a disadvantage. High up in the sky, there was a loud explosion and a powerful aura came down. It was the aura of a martial ancestor realm 7 martial artist. Not far away, Autumn Moon was wearing a white dress. She exuded an extremely cold aura. When she waved her hand, the cold aura froze everything. After not seeing her for a while, Autumn Moon was even more beautiful. Her curves were graceful and her figure was even more voluptuous. However, her beautiful face was extremely cold. It was even colder than the aura she exuded. Judging from the aura on Autumn Moon's body, Autumn Moon had reached the early stages of martial ancestor realm 2. Even Lu Ming was shocked by her cultivation progress. Her opponent was a martial ancestor realm 3 expert. However, he was completely suppressed by Autumn Moon. Absolute frost. Autumn Moon shouted. She waved her hands and an endless amount of cold aura surged. Her opponent roared, but in the next moment, he was turned into an ice sculpture. Autumn Moon slapped out and the ice sculpture shattered into pieces. A martial ancestor realm 3 martial artist had been easily killed by Autumn Moon. Little bitch, you're courting death. At that moment, a sharp sound was heard and a bright sword radiance shot towards Autumn Moon. Autumn Moon's face changed. Her body flashed quickly and she managed to dodge the sword radiance. With a flash of light, a white-haired old man appeared in front of Autumn Moon. He looked at Autumn Moon coldly. Little bitch, die. The old man shouted coldly. His sword radiance flashed and he charged towards Autumn Moon. Martial Ancestor Realm 5. The old man had a cultivation of Martial Ancestor Realm 5. His sword radiance was bright and sharp. In an instant, he had completely suppressed Autumn Moon. Rise! Autumn Moon shouted. Her body flashed with a blood-red light, and a humanoid figure with blurry facial features appeared. This figure was incomparably cold, as if it was completely made of ice. At the same time, 5 silver chakras flashed across this figure. However, it was still seen by Lao O and Lu Ming. Level 5 King Class Bloodline. The second bloodline awakened by Autumn Moon was actually a level 5 King Class bloodline. Lu Ming was shocked. But on second thought, he felt that it was normal. The first bloodline of Autumn Moon was originally a very powerful natural type ice bloodline among the special bloodlines. Its level was as high as level 8. It was normal for the second bloodline to be powerful. However, Oldo was frightened. Then, he roared with a ferocious expression. Die, die! I will not let you live in this world. Amidst the screams, the terrifying sword chi surged towards Autumn Moon. After activating her bloodline, Autumn Moon's combat strength had increased tremendously. Although she was still at a disadvantage, she would not be defeated for a while. However, at this moment, a black-robed figure appeared not far away from Autumn Moon. He stared coldly at Autumn Moon. Die! Suddenly, the black-robed man attacked. A jet-black sword radiance pierced towards Autumn Moon. He was also a level 5 martial ancestor realm cultivation. You are the one who will die. When the black-robed man appeared, Lu Ming had already rushed over. At this moment, he shouted coldly and swept out his spear. Clang! The long spear hit the black-robed man's long sword. The long sword shook violently and almost exploded. Who is it? The black-robed man's body shook violently and he retreated quickly. The one who will kill you. Lu Ming stepped out and charged towards the black-robed man. Boom! On the long spear, the power of wind and fire was entwined, causing the long spear to move at an extremely fast speed. Bam! The black-robed man's body was swept by the spear. He screamed in pain and his body exploded. Now, Lu Ming only needed one move to kill a level 5 martial ancestor realm cultivation. The 9 dragons' bloodline circulated and devoured the opponent's essence blood. Suddenly, Lu Ming's body shook. His cultivation had broken through again. He had reached the late stage of level 2 martial ancestor realm. The essence blood he had devoured was too rich and there was still a large portion that he had not refined. Kill! With the breakthrough in his cultivation, Lu Ming's combat strength was even stronger. In a flash, he appeared beside Elder O, who was fighting with Autumn Moon. He stabbed out with his spear and the spear radiance was like lightning. Elder O screamed in horror and tried to dodge. However, everything was in vain. In the next moment, a large hole appeared in his chest, killing with one spear. Lu Ming held the long spear in his hand and looked like a god of war. Autumn Moon looked at Lu Ming and her heart trembled. She did not know why, but when she saw Lu Ming, she felt that he was extremely familiar. Although his body shape and appearance were completely different, she was all too familiar with his temperament. For a moment, she was stunned. "What? Little girl, don't you recognize your young master?" Lu Ming came to Autumn Moon's side and smiled. Hearing this, Autumn Moon's body trembled. Her beautiful eyes suddenly widened as she stared straight at Lu Ming. Young master? Is it really you? Is it really you?" Qiu Yu's eyes were misty and tears rolled down her cheeks as she spoke emotionally. "Little girl, if it's not me, who else could it be?" Lu Ming stretched out his finger and scratched the tip of Autumn Moon's white nose. Autumn Moon was so emotional that her body trembled. Tears streamed down her face as she said, Young master, Autumn Moon has finally found young master." If it were not for the fact that they were fighting, she would have jumped into Lu Ming's arms. Back then, she was brought to a secret place by her master to cultivate in seclusion. Her cultivation progress was extremely terrifying. However, when she ended her cultivation and returned to the Mystic Essence Sword sect, she heard a shocking piece of news. Lu Ming killed his way into the White Tiger Hall and killed many people from the Duanmu family. In the end, the Duanmu family forced him to leave the Mystic Essence Sword sect and disappear without a trace. This news was like a bolt from the blue to Autumn Moon. If it were not for her master stopping her, she would have killed her way into the White Tiger Hall. During this period of time, she had traveled far and wide, but there was no news about Lu Ming. If it were not for her master's kindness, she would have left the Mystic Essence Sword sect on her own accord. This time, she followed the experts of the Mystic Essence Sword sect to support the Ghost Moon Saber sect. One reason was to gain experience, and the other was to find Lu Ming. She wanted to try her luck and see if she could get any news about Lu Ming. She never expected that Lu Ming would suddenly appear beside her. One could only imagine the excitement in her heart. "Silly girl, why are you crying? It's more important to kill the enemy first. After we kill the enemy, we can have a good chat." Lu Ming stretched out his hand to wipe away Autumn Moon's tears. "Yes, young master." Autumn Moon's tears turned into smiles. Her face revealed a smile that was even more brilliant than flowers. "At this time, you still have the mood to be intimate with each other. Let this old man send the two of you on your way to the underworld to be intimate." Suddenly, a dry and hoarse voice rang out. A skinny and gloomy old man appeared not far away and looked at the two of them with a cold smile. His body emitted a powerful aura. Chapter 3:12. Roar. The golden-eyed blood zombie growled and stood in front of the old man. The old man looked at the golden-eyed blood zombie with fear. The reason why he did not launch a sneak attack was because of the golden-eyed blood zombie. "Old man, you're the one who's going to die. Golden-eyed, go!" Lu Ming growled. The golden-eyed blood zombie roared and pounced on the old man. Swoosh, swoosh. At that moment, two figures appeared behind Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. As soon as they appeared, they turned into two slender and sharp sword radiances and stabbed toward Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. Their speed was shocking and the sword radiances were sharp and indestructible. The two sneak attackers were at the peak of the sixth realm of the martial ancestor realm and their auras were similar. When they joined forces, their power was multiplied. "You're courting death." Lu Ming roared furiously and pulled Autumn Moon. At the same time, 6 ancient shields appeared in front of him. The 6 shields stacked together and blocked in front of him. Poof, poof. Like leather being pierced, the sword radiances of the two sneak attackers were too sharp. The 6 shields were pierced one after another. However, Lu Ming had bought himself some time. His long spear turned into 2 spear radiances and stabbed forward. Clang, clang. The tip of the spear and the sword collided. Lu Ming felt waves of sharp sword chi surging toward him. The wind and fire aura on the tip of the spear were almost scattered. Lu Ming moved and pulled Autumn Moon back quickly. The two sneak attackers were also blocked and were forced to retreat. At that moment, Lu Ming saw the two figures clearly. These two people looked almost exactly the same. They were short and small, like monkeys. They were about 40 years old. Damn it, this person can block our attack at such a young age. He's too terrifying. We can't let him live. The two short men growled and were shocked. Kill! Swoosh! Swoosh! The two of them moved and turned into two sword radiances. They charged toward Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. They were as fast as lightning and could not be seen with the naked eye. Icebound 10,000 miles. Autumn Moon shouted as her second bloodline appeared. With a wave of her hand, the temperature in front of her plummeted, and a large patch of frost appeared out of nowhere. It was as if even the air itself had frozen. Great success, Ice Force. Lu Ming could tell that the ice force that Autumn Moon comprehended was already at the major success stage. Its power was incomparably powerful. The two short men also seemed to be frozen, and their speed was greatly reduced. Damn it! Damn it! The two short men roared angrily. Haha, good. Lu Ming laughed heartily as he struck out with both palms. In the sky, two huge beast claws condensed and blasted towards the two short men. During this period of time, Lu Ming had already cultivated the 3 Dao palms to the 5th level. Its power was close to that of a superior grade earth rank martial skill. It was extremely powerful. As long as Lu Ming comprehended the final Heaven's Path palm, its might would be infinitely close to a heaven tier martial skill. Boom! Boom! Two beast claws came crashing down like mountains. The two short men slashed out streaks of sword chi to block the beast claws. With two booming sounds, the two of them trembled and quickly retreated. Swoosh! Lu Ming charged forward. His long spear was like a dragon as the spear radiance pierced through the air and blasted towards the two short men. Behind him, Autumn Moon waved her hands and ice wheels that were like crescent moons appeared. They slashed towards the two short men continuously. It had to be said that the two short men were extremely powerful. Their genuine chi was dense and extremely sharp. Their cultivation had reached the peak of Martial Ancestor Realm Level 6. When the two of them joined forces, they could compete with an ordinary Martial Ancestor Realm Level 7. When Lu Ming and Autumn Moon joined forces, they could only fight to a draw. Refine, refine for me. Lu Ming tried his best to refine the essence blood in his body. The essence blood in his body came from a Martial Ancestor Realm Level 7 martial artist. There was also the essence blood of a Martial Ancestor Realm Level 5 martial artist and a large number of other martial artists. It was extremely rich. At that moment, it was continuously converted into the energy of the 9 Dragons bloodline and into Lu Ming's genuine chi. Lu Ming's genuine chi continued to grow. After a while, he reached the peak of Martial Ancestor Realm Level 2. However, he did not stop there. He started to break through to Martial Ancestor Realm Level 3. It was not the first time Lu Ming had broken through while fighting. He was familiar with the process. Of course, it was because of the 9 Dragons bloodline. The two short men became more and more frightened as they fought. Firstly, Autumn Moon's cold chi was too shocking. Although her cultivation was much lower than theirs, the cold chi was extremely terrifying. It was as if it could freeze everything. They felt that the genuine chi in their bodies was about to be frozen and their speed slowed down. Of course, the most terrifying one was Lu Ming. His attacks were violent and his strength was shocking. Each of his attacks could destroy a mountain. Each of his attacks forced them to give their all. Furthermore, Lu Ming did not seem to be tired at all. The more he fought, the braver he became. The two of them had the intention to retreat. Come, let's leave first. These two are too terrifying. We'll let the stronger experts kill them. Let's go. The two of them slashed a few times and decided to retreat. At that moment, Lu Ming's eyes emitted a brilliant glow as he sneered, "Go? It's too late to leave now." Boom. The aura on Lu Ming's body rose rapidly like an erupting volcano. Third layer Martial Ancestor Realm. Just a moment ago, his cultivation had successfully broken through. After breaking through to the third layer Martial Ancestor Realm, Lu Ming's combat strength rose rapidly again. Oh no, he broke through? One of the short men yelled in disbelief. Demon. He's a demon. Retreat. Retreat quickly. The other man yelled crazily as he retreated frantically. However, it was too late. Lu Ming moved like lightning and appeared not far away from him in the blink of an eye. He thrust his spear forward. Poof! It was as if the air had been pierced through. A spear radiance instantly crossed 100 meters and penetrated everything. The short man did not even have time to react before his heart was pierced through by the spear radiance. Buzz! Then, Lu Ming held the spear in his hand and threw it out. A spear radiance that was 200 meters long crossed the void and blasted toward the other short man. Break! The short man yelled in horror as he slashed out a shocking sword radiance. However, it was useless. The spear radiance swept past and the sword radiance collapsed. The spear radiance did not stop and struck the short man. Bang! The short man screamed as many bones in his body were broken. His body flew out like a cannonball as blood spurted out from his body. Although he was not dead, he was not far from it. Chi! Xueqi waved out a crescent-shaped ice wheel, which rushed through the short man's body and cut him in two. Lu Ming rushed past them and devoured their blood essence. The blood essence of two martial artists at the peak of the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm was definitely a great supplement. Roar! On the other side, the golden-eyed blood zombie was fearless and had completely suppressed his opponent. How is this possible? Seeing that Lu Ming had killed the two short men, the old man could not believe it. Although the two short men were no match for him, they were not to be underestimated. He had thought that it would be more than enough to kill Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. However, he had never expected that they would be killed by Lu Ming. The old man was shocked. It's your turn now. Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning as he moved and stabbed the old man with his spear. Clang! The old man slashed out with his sword and collided with the long spear. However, he was pushed back by a powerful force. How can he be so strong? Chapter 313. The old man was no match for the golden-eyed blood zombie. With the addition of the freakish Lu Ming, he did not dare to continue the fight. He turned and ran. You want to leave? It's not that easy. Lu Ming sneered and chased after him. At the same time, the golden-eyed blood zombie did the same. The white-haired old man was shocked. He flew up into the sky. There were 6 figures, both male and female. Each of them emitted a terrifying aura. The 6 of them were all experts in the martial ancestor realm. There were 3 from the Een Moon Empire and 3 from the Burning Sun Empire. The 6 of them were fighting fiercely. Seeing the white-haired old man rushing over, the 3 from the Een Moon Empire were shocked. One of them asked, "Old Lin, why are you back?" The intelligence was wrong this time. There are a few extremely powerful figures. I'm no match for them. Let's retreat quickly. The white-haired old man shouted. Retreat? We're about to win. How can we retreat now? Are you crazy? A burly man roared. Whoosh. At this time, Lu Ming and the golden-eyed blood zombie had already rushed over. The white-haired old man was scared and fled in a hurry. What's there to be afraid of? I'll kill him. That burly man bellowed coldly. The opponent who had retreated with one move was holding a huge saber in his hand. He slashed toward Lu Ming. Boom! The saber radiance slashed down and the space shook violently. No! The white-haired old man screamed. But it was too late. Roar! The golden-eyed blood zombie roared and rushed forward. He waved his claws and streaks of blood-red light appeared and collided with the saber radiance. Whoosh! Then, Lu Ming stabbed out with his spear. The spear radiance, which contained the power of wind and fire, instantly pierced through the saber radiance and headed for the burly man. The big man's pupils suddenly widened, revealing an extremely frightened look. Ah! Retreat! 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 The burly man roared. He unleashed all of his genuine chi and physical strength in an attempt to dodge the spear radiance. But it was too late. He avoided his vital parts but was still stabbed in the shoulder by the spear radiance. The burly man's shoulder exploded and one of his arms disappeared. Ah! The burly man let out a blood-curdling scream as he coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. He had already suffered heavy injuries. Circulating his remaining zhenqi, he attempted to flee. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. His long spear shook, and the spear light swept out horizontally, whipping the big man's body. The big man screamed in horror, and then his body exploded in the air. Whoosh! Lu Ming rushed over and devoured the blood essence. Retreat! Retreat quickly! The white-haired old man was scared out of his wits. The big man, who was no weaker than him, was killed by Lu Ming and the golden-eyed blood zombie in a single exchange. He was so scared that his whole body trembled. He screamed and ran even faster. Go! The other two martial arts Grandmaster realm experts from the Een Moon Empire also turned pale with fright and fled madly. In the blink of an eye, the three of them disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming did not give chase. The reason why he had been able to kill the burly man so easily was not because he was much stronger than the burly man, but because the burly man had been too careless. That was why he had been killed by Lu Ming and the golden-eyed blood zombie. If they were to fight head-on, Lu Ming might not be able to defeat the burly man. Mister, how should I address you? At this moment, the three martial arts Grandmaster realm experts from the Burning Sun Empire flew over. They cupped their fists and bowed. At the same time, they carefully sized up Lu Ming. After discovering Lu Ming's age, they were shocked. I am Tian Yun. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. From their attire, he could tell that one of them was an expert from the Mystic Essence Sword sect, and the other two were experts from the Ghost Moon Saber sect. You are Tian Yun? The expert from the Mystic Essence Sword sect was a tall and skinny man in his 50s. At this moment he exclaimed. The two experts from the Ghost Moon Saber sect also looked at Lu Ming in shock. Tianyun's name had spread throughout the Burning Sun Empire. As long as one was a martial artist, they would know of him. However, today, they realized that Tianyun was even stronger and more amazing than the rumors said. Seniors, it's more important for us to deal with the enemy first. Lu Ming said. That's right. Let's go and kill those beasts from the Een Moon Empire. The tall and skinny man from the Mystic Essence Sword sect roared. Immediately, the four of them rushed to the battlefield of the other martial arts grandmasters. The martial arts grandmasters from the Een Moon Empire had obviously received the news and fled like the wind. After leaving behind a few lives, they all fled. Kill! The other martial arts grandmasters charged towards the battlefield on the ground. Mr. Qiu Moon appeared beside Lu Ming and whispered. Her eyebrows were filled with joy. Qiu Moon, let's go and kill the enemy together. After the battle, we can have a good gathering. Lu Ming smiled and said. Qiu Moon nodded obediently and followed Lu Ming to the battlefield below. There was no suspense on the battlefield below. When Lu Ming left, the 20,000 Crimson Moon demonic tigers of the Een Moon Empire had already been defeated. After that, the Northern Battlefront Army fought back and attacked the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves from both sides. The Een Moon Army was completely defeated. When Lu Ming came back, he saw Xian Yanqing leading the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves to chase the defeated Een Moon Army. Along the way, there were corpses everywhere. Whoosh! Lu Ming landed on the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolf King. Qiu Moon also landed and sat in front of Lu Ming. The Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolf King was huge, more than 6 meters long. It was still very spacious for two people to sit on it. On the other side, Xian Yanqing saw Lu Ming and Qiu Moon sitting in front of Lu Ming. His face darkened and a trace of coldness flashed in his eyes. Run! The soldiers of the Een Moon Empire screamed in fear and ran for their lives. However, no matter how fast they were not as fast as the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves. They were killed one by one. The smell of blood filled the air. Suddenly, Lu Ming noticed that the golden eye blood zombie next to him was emitting a thick bloody light. The bloody qi in the air kept gathering towards the golden eye blood zombie. The bloody light on the golden eye blood zombie was getting thicker and thicker. That's right. Blood zombies like to drink blood to increase their strength. The battlefield is their heaven. Lu Ming thought to himself. He was secretly happy. He was happy that the golden eye blood zombie had become stronger. The slaughter continued. After an hour, everything returned to normal. The Een Moon Empire had suffered a crushing defeat. Tens of thousands of corpses were left behind. It was a great loss. All of this was because of the arrival of the Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves led by Lu Ming. The Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves' power was demonstrated. Dong dong. A troop of horses galloped over and stopped 100 meters in front of Lu Ming. It was the Northern Battlefront Army. Is that General Tianyun in front of us? A big dark-skinned man in his 40s shouted. Yes, I am Tianyun. Lu Ming said. I am Huang Chenlong, the Deputy General of the Northern Battlefront Army. Nice to meet you, General Tianyun. The dark-skinned man cupped his fists. General Huang, please come over for a chat. Lu Ming said. Huang Chenlong nodded and led some people to meet up with Lu Ming. Lu Ming asked Huang Chenlong what had happened. How was the Northern Battlefront Army? The great general was assassinated. Chapter 3:14. The general of the North Battlefront Army was assassinated by the assassins of the Empire of Een Moon. Then, the army of the Empire of Een Moon seized the opportunity to attack. The North Battlefront Army was in chaos after the general died. The Empire of Een Moon seized the chance and broke into the North Battlefront city. They suffered a great loss. The remaining soldiers of the North Battlefront Army tried to break out of the encirclement, but the army of Een Moon caught up with them. That was the reason for the great battle. Luckily, the superior cultivators of the Ghost Moon Saber sect and the Mystic Essence Sword sect helped them. Otherwise, they would have been defeated. With the help of Lu Ming's army, they were able to turn the tables and defeat the army of Een Moon. The North Battlefront city has been occupied by the Empire of Een Moon. They have deployed a great army to guard it. It's too difficult to take it back. Huang Chenlong sighed. Lu Ming had a sudden realization. So that was the case. So, what's your next plan? Lu Ming asked. Huang Chenlong and the other deputy generals looked at each other and nodded. Then they got off their horses and bowed to Lu Ming. If you don't abandon us, we are willing to lead the remaining soldiers of the North Battlefront Army to you. Generals, what are you doing? Stand up and talk. Lu Ming hurried to help Huang Chenlong and the others up. General Tianyun, we are defeated. We have nowhere to go. If you don't take us in, we will be wiped out by the Empire of Een Moon sooner or later. You are a peerless genius. If you lead us, we will avenge our brothers. Please take us in. Huang Chenlong bowed to him. Okay, I will take you in. Lu Ming pondered for a while and nodded in agreement. Thank you so much, General Tianyun. Huang Chenlong and the others were overjoyed. Generals, brothers, don't worry. I, Tianyun, swear that I will lead you to kill the Empire of Een Moon and avenge our brothers. Lu Ming shouted. His voice spread far and reached the ears of every soldier of the North Battlefront Army. General Tianyun is awesome. General Tianyun is invincible. Instantly, the field burst into loud cheers. After a while, the cheers stopped. Then, Lu Ming asked Huang Chenlong to count the remaining Northern Battlefront Army. Huang Chenlong accepted the order and left. At this moment, a ray of light flashed across the sky, and a figure appeared. It was the tall and thin man from the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Autumn Moon, the battle here is over. Follow me back to the Ghost Moon Saber sect. The lanky man said. Marshal Uncle, you can go back first. I plan to stay in the military camp to train. Autumn Moon said. Stay in the barracks? No. The tall and skinny man's expression changed drastically. Autumn Moon's second bloodline awakening was a terrifying level 5 king class. This was too shocking. She was much stronger than Duan Mu Lin. Her future achievements were unimaginable. Only a few of the higher-ups of the Mystic Essence Sword sect knew that Autumn Moon was listed as a key training target. Now that Autumn Moon had to stay in the military camp to train, if anything were to happen, he wouldn't be able to answer to Autumn Moon's master and the other higher-ups. Marshal Uncle, don't worry. I'll be careful. Autumn Moon said. Senior, Miss Autumn Moon will stay in the barracks. Tianyun will do his best to protect her. I won't let her get hurt. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. The tall and skinny man muttered to himself as his mind started to wander. How did Autumn Moon get to know Tianyun? Could it be love at first sight between a hero and a beauty? It's very possible. With Autumn Moon's talent, only a genius like Tianyun is worthy of her. Fine, I'll let her stay. I'll go back and report to Senior and the sect leader to let them decide. Thinking of this, The tall and skinny man bowed slightly and said, "Since that's the case, I'll have to trouble young Master Tianyun." "Senior, don't worry." Lu Ming nodded. Then, the tall and skinny man turned into a ray of light and disappeared. "Humph. General Tianyun, you're really handsome. You didn't forget to kidnap a little beauty when you're marching to war. Why? It's too cold at night. Are you using her to warm your bed?" At this time, a faint voice sounded. Xian Yanqing came over riding on the red blood scale wolf. He carefully sized up Qiu Yu and a gloomy look flashed in the depths of his eyes. "Ahem, Shao Qing, what nonsense are you talking about?" Lu Ming coughed a few times and then rolled his eyes. He approached Xian Yanqing and said, "What's wrong? You sound so sour. Are you jealous?" "Jealous? You? What nonsense are you talking about? How could I be jealous of you? Dream on." Xian Yanqing's heart skipped a few times and she hurriedly denied it. But her heart beat even faster. That inexplicable feeling in her heart made her a little flustered. When she saw Lu Ming and Qiu Yu together, she felt an inexplicable sourness in her heart. "Am I really jealous? No, that's impossible. How could I be jealous of this guy? I just want to trample him under my feet. Yes, that must be it. I will work hard to cultivate and trample him under my feet as soon as possible." Xian Yanqing kept thinking in her heart. She stared at Lu Ming fiercely and gritted her teeth. Lu Ming got goosebumps from her stare. He thought to himself, "Is this woman crazy?" On the side, Autumn Moon looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. No one knew what she was thinking, but she didn't say anything. After a while, Huang Chenlong came to report the number of soldiers. There were 60,160 soldiers in the Northern Battlefront Army. Almost 40,000 of the 100,000 soldiers in the Northern Battlefront Army were killed in one night. It was a great loss. Immediately, Lu Ming led the Red Blood Scale Cavalry and more than 60,000 soldiers to the Moon City. On the way, they met Ming Meng, who was leading the army to rescue them. After knowing the situation of the Northern Battlefront Army, Ming Meng sighed. They returned to the Moon City the same way they came. After returning to the Moon City, Lu Ming asked Hua Ying to reorganize the Northern Battlefront Army. He hid in the Temple of Paragon and started to refine the Essence Blood. Although he had refined a part of the Essence Blood, there was still a lot left. The energy of the Essence Blood was turned into genuine qi. Lu Ming's cultivation kept increasing. After refining all the Essence Blood in the Nine Dragon bloodline, his cultivation reached the late stage of the Martial Ancestor Realm. He was only one step away from the peak of the Martial Ancestor Realm. After breaking through to the Martial Ancestor Realm, he had killed a Martial Ancestor Realm 7 expert. However, the Essence Blood of the Martial Ancestor Realm 7 expert didn't help him increase his cultivation by much. After refining the Essence Blood, Lu Ming left the Temple of Paragon and helped Hua Ying reorganize the Northern Battlefront Army. 2 days later, the Northern Battlefront Army was reorganized. Lu Ming had almost 80,000 soldiers under his command. His strength had increased greatly. However, Lu Ming still wasn't satisfied. After this battle, Lu Ming found the weakness of the Red Blood Scale Wolf Army. Although the Red Blood Scale Wolf Army was powerful, most of them relied on their mounts and Red Blood Scale wolves. The soldiers' cultivation was too weak, and it was difficult for them to use the full strength of the Red Blood Scale Wolf Army. Moreover, there were too few of them. There were originally 8,000 of them, but they had lost 500 to 600 in this battle. Their numbers had decreased by a lot. I have to think of a way to increase the soldiers' cultivation. Also, I have to capture more Red Blood Scale wolves. Lu Ming thought. Chapter 3:15. If he could have 30,000 Crimson Blood Scale wolves and 30,000 Martial Master Realm warriors to form an army, it would be truly terrifying. It would become an invincible army. Lu Ming shook his head with a smile. It was just a thought. It was too difficult to realize. Crimson Blood Scale wolves were easy, but 30,000 Martial Master Realm warriors were too difficult. Now, including the 60,000 Northern Battlefront Army, Lu Ming had less than 5,000 Martial Master Realm warriors under his command. Unless it was a force like the 5 great sections. For example, the Mystic Essence Sword sect, besides the young disciples, There were many warriors over 30 years old. The total number of martial master realm warriors might be more than 100,000. But that was the result of years of accumulation. In the past few days, there was no movement in the Een Moon army. It seemed that after the battle, the Een Moon army needed to rest. Hence, Lu Ming led the red blood iron horse into the depths of the plateau to capture the red blood scaled wolves. Roar! Lu Ming rode on the crimson blood scale wolf and rushed forward. On the side, Xian Yanqing rode on another crimson blood scale wolf and followed closely. On the other side, Autumn Moon also rode on a crimson blood scale wolf and followed. Seeing Lu Ming, Autumn Moon was in a good mood. She had a bright smile on her face every day. She followed Lu Ming all day, just like the little maid she used to be. Xian Yanqing gritted his teeth and muttered that Lu Ming was a pervert, which made Lu Ming smile bitterly. Roar! Roar! The crimson blood scale wolf army roared and marched into the depths of the wilderness. Lu Ming let the crimson blood scale wolf lead the way. After a few hours, they arrived at a huge valley. Roar! Roar! Wolf howls came from the valley. Then, crimson blood scale wolves appeared one after another. There are more. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Obviously, this was another group of crimson blood scale wolves. Roar! A huge wolf howl sounded, and a huge crimson blood-scaled wolf with a fiendish aura walked out. This crimson blood-scale wolf, whether it was its size or aura, was not inferior to the crimson blood-scale wolf king that Lu Ming was riding. Clearly, this was the king of the crimson blood-scale wolves. Roar! Roar! The crimson blood-scale wolf kings under Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing began to howl. They seemed to be communicating with the crimson blood-scale wolf king. Roar! After howling for a while, the crimson blood scale wolf king growled at Lu Ming. Its eyes were filled with doubt and then a provocative light. Looks like strength is the only thing that matters. Lu Ming smiled faintly and pounced on the crimson blood scale wolf king. Roar! The crimson blood scaled wolf king also pounced forward. One man and one wolf engaged in a fierce battle. Half an hour later, when Lu Ming continued his journey, there were more than 5,000 crimson blood scale wolves behind him. This was the number of crimson blood scale wolves in the previous pack. The crimson blood scale wolf king had become Qiu Yu's mount. However, Lu Ming was still not satisfied. He continued his search on the plateau. There were countless crimson blood scale wolves in the plateau. They had lived here for countless years. In 3 days, Lu Ming found 5 packs of crimson blood scale wolves. The strongest pack of crimson blood scale wolves had more than 10,000 wolves. The weakest pack only had 2,000 wolves. Through the 2 crimson blood scale wolf kings at the beginning, Lu Ming's strength, and Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's howling moon wolf king's aura, these crimson blood scale wolves were subdued one by one. Suddenly, the number of crimson blood scale wolves under Lu Ming's command exceeded 30,000, reaching a total of 32,000. At this point, Lu Ming had to stop. Deeper into the plateau, the beasts that appeared were too strong. Some of them were Class 8 LV4, and some were even Class 9 LV4. If Lu Ming and the rest continued, they would suffer great losses. However, 30,000 crimson blood scale wolves were enough. Immediately, Lu Ming brought the crimson blood scale wolves back to Full Moon City. Needless to say, it caused a tsunami-like commotion. The Mountain Suppression Army was envious, while the former Northern Battlefront Army that had sided with Lu Ming was ecstatic. Lu Ming was not stingy. He gave a few hundred crimson blood scale wolves to Ming Meng. As for the rest, Lu Ming selected 30,000 of the strongest men to form a crimson blood scale wolf cavalry. There were 31,000 of them. 1,000 of them were called the Crimson Blood Guards. They were the strongest and the most elite. They were Lu Ming's guards. The other 30,000 formed an army. Lu Ming temporarily handed them over to Hua Ying to manage and train. Hua Ying's mount was also changed to a crimson blood scale wolf king. It was easier to manage. Lu Ming was happy to be able to relax. Other than occasionally sparring with Autumn Moon, he spent most of his time cultivating. In the Temple of Paragon, Lu Ming sat cross-legged. He had just refined a few hundred spiritual herbs and cultivated the 10,000 spirit battle form to increase his physical strength. At this moment, he stopped cultivating. The 9 Dragons Heaven Stomping Steps is really difficult to cultivate. It's been so many days, but I still haven't mastered the first step. However, I feel that I've gained some insights recently. As long as I continue to comprehend, I'll master it sooner or later. There's also the third palm of the 3 Tao palms, the Heavenly Path palm. I don't have any clue about it either. If I can master it, it'll definitely be my trump card. Lu Ming pondered. Now, cultivating the true dragon of battle arts and comprehending the force was something that he had to do every day. Other than that, he had to cultivate various martial techniques. Every day, Lu Ming felt that he didn't have enough time. Thinking of this, Lu Ming moved his hand and a storage ring appeared. What's in the storage ring of a king? Looking at the storage ring, Lu Ming's eyes were filled with anticipation. That's right. This storage ring belonged to the martial king that Lu Ming had obtained in the Dongi tribe's ancestral ruins. Lu Ming had fought with Xian Yanqing for this storage ring. In the end, Xian Yanqing had chosen a small jade sword. There was a powerful inscription array on the storage ring. Lu Ming couldn't break it in the past. He could only slowly work on it. However, recently, Lu Ming felt that the inscription array on the storage ring was loosening. It was about to be broken. Today, I'll break it completely. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Then, his hands glowed and powerful true qi surged toward the storage ring. The storage ring floated in the air, surrounded by a light screen. However, this light screen had become very thin. Under Lu Ming's true qi, it was on the verge of collapsing. Break for me! Lu Ming shouted. The true dragon of battle qi was constantly circulating. Like small true dragons, they rushed toward the light screen. Suddenly, the light screen emitted a bright light and expanded rapidly. When it had expanded to a few meters, it exploded with a poof. The inscription array on the storage ring was broken. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He grabbed the storage ring and immersed his mind into it. It's so big! His first impression was that the storage ring had a huge space. Lu Ming reckoned that even if he threw a mountain peak into it, it would be able to contain it. Then, Lu Ming saw a mountain of items in the storage ring. This is spiritual weapons, armor, elixirs, and secret manuals. Chapter 316. However, after looking through them, Lu Ming was shocked. Actually, these spiritual weapons, armors, elixirs, and secret manuals were not very high level. The key was that there were too many of them. Numerous battle spears and battle swords were piled up like a mountain, emitting a cold luster. The armors were piled up higher than a mountain. The elixirs in jade bottles were also piled up like a mountain. There were too many of them. There were too many of them. Lu Ming estimated that there were at least hundreds of thousands of sets of spiritual weapons and armors. This was simply an armory. Lu Ming picked up some of them and found that most of them were level 2 spiritual weapons. There were a few level 3 spiritual weapons. As for level 4 spiritual weapons, there were not many of them. These are soul-gathering elixirs and soul-breaking elixirs. When Lu Ming checked the elixirs, he was shocked at first. Then, he was excited and overjoyed. Soul-gathering elixirs could help martial soldiers and even martial masters improve their cultivation quickly. On the other hand, soul-breaking elixirs could help people break through to the next realm. Most of them were level 2 elixirs. They were not very useful for martial masters. However, there were too many of them. No wonder Lu Ming was so excited. These items could equip a huge army. How could there be so many low-level items in the storage ring of a martial king expert? Then, Lu Ming thought about it and understood. The Dongi tribe had occupied a huge territory and established an empire. Now, most of the territory of the Burning Sun Empire, the Dark Moon Empire, and even the Blood Zhao Empire belonged to the Dongi tribe. The Dongi tribe was a real medium-sized empire. Later on it was destroyed. The Dongi ancestor's storage ring was filled with so many low-level spiritual weapons and elixirs. He must have wanted to build an army and rebuild the Dongi Empire in the future. However, he died before he could do it. Now, all of them were taken advantage of by Lu Ming. Ha ha ha, I've searched high and low, only to find it by chance. Good, this is great. In this way, how big of an army can I build? The Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolf Cavalry and the other soldiers will be upgraded. Their strength will definitely increase greatly. Lu Ming thought ecstatically. Thinking of this, Lu Ming immediately left the Temple of Paragon and gathered all his deputy generals and deputy generals. When Lu Ming used some empty storage rings to store these spirit armors and elixirs, and showed them to these deputy and deputy generals, these people were immediately petrified. All of them widened their eyes and opened their mouths. They stared at Lu Ming in disbelief, motionless. After a long while, they finally reacted, and their bodies trembled with excitement. "General, are these all yours?" Huaring gulped and said. "Of course. Did you think I snatched them?" "All right, give everyone a set of spiritual weapons and armor. Distribute these medicinal pills to increase their strength. Take note. Focus on the 30,000 scarlet blood-scaled wolves. I want them to break through to Martial Master as quickly as possible," Lu Ming instructed. His goal was to let the 30,000 crimson blood-scaled wolves all reach the Martial Master realm. Only then could the crimson blood-scaled wolves unleash their true strength. Of course, he only gave out 80,000 sets of spiritual weapons and armors. He would keep the rest for now. As for the secret manuals, they were some low-level martial techniques and battle formations. They were suitable for fighting on the battlefield, so they wouldn't be used in a short time. Lu Ming didn't give them out. Hua Ying and the others went out happily. Not long after, when Lu Ming's subordinates all changed into new equipment, everyone in the mountain-crushing army was shocked. It was too shocking. Lu Ming's subordinates were all equipped with Level 2 spiritual weapons and armors. Level 2 spiritual weapons were on par with martial masters. When martial soldiers put on Level 2 spiritual weapons and armors, their combat strength would definitely increase greatly. Their ability to protect themselves would also increase greatly. As for the elites, they all changed into Level 3 spiritual weapons. It didn't take long for everyone to find out that Tian Yun was the one who had given them the equipment. The mountain-crushing army soldiers were so envious that their eyes turned red. They found that the soldiers who followed Lu Ming were treated too well. First, they had crimson blood-scaled wolves, and now, even their equipment was brand new. If it weren't for the military rules, they would have sworn allegiance to Tian Yun. After Ming Meng found out, he smiled bitterly. From then on, every soldier under Lu Ming used the energy gathering pill and the energy breakthrough pill to crazily increase their cultivation. During this time, the Yin Moon Empire seemed to have calmed down and didn't make any other moves. Time passed in a flash and half a month passed. In the past half a month, the strength of the crimson blood-scaled wolves had increased crazily. Originally, there were about 5,000 martial masters in the crimson blood-scaled wolves. As for the rest, most of them were at the 8th and 9th level of the martial warrior realm. In the past half a month, all of them had crazily improved. Some 9th level martial warriors had been stuck in the 9th level for a long time. At this time, with the help of the energy breakthrough pill, they broke through the bottleneck and rushed into the martial master realm. In half a month, more than 10,000 people rushed into the martial master realm. As for the others, almost every one of them had advanced by 1 or 2 levels. Pills left behind by a martial king expert, even if the level wasn't high, were still extraordinary. The Eastern barbarian martial king intended to build a strong army in a short period of time. The effects of the pills were naturally astonishing, exceeding Lu Ming's expectations. Great, if this continues, the 30,000 crimson blood-scaled wolves will all enter the martial master realm in less than a month. Lu Ming was overjoyed and distributed the pills without hesitation. The pills in the martial king's storage ring were prepared for the army of 500,000, so there was an inexhaustible supply. At this time, news came from Ming Meng that the Yin Moon Empire had made a move recently. Sure enough, 3 days later, the Yin Moon Empire's 600,000 army attacked the Ghost Moon Saber Sect's territory. For a time, the war continued. After Lu Ming received the news, he didn't hesitate and led the 30,000 crimson blood-scaled wolves to set off. It was time to test the strength of the crimson blood-scaled wolves. This battle shocked the entire world, shaking the Blazing Sun Empire and the Yin Moon Empire. The 30,000 crimson blood-scaled wolves led by Lu Ming were simply invincible and undefeatable. In this battle, the crimson blood-scaled wolves' first opponent was the Yin Moon Empire's Grey Wolf Legion. The 50,000 Grey Wolf Legion didn't have the slightest ability to fight back against the crimson blood-scaled wolves' attack. the 50,000 Grey Wolf Legion was almost completely annihilated. In this way, the Yin Moon Empire's Grey Wolf Legion was completely destroyed by Lu Ming, with 70,000 of them destroyed. Afterwards, the Yin Moon Empire sent out an extremely powerful legion, the Wild Lion Legion. The Wild Lion Legion was 100,000 strong, and their battle strength was even stronger than the Grey Wolf Legion. This battle was incomparably tragic, and shouts of killing filled the sky. In the end, the result was the same. The 30,000 Crimson Blood-Scaled Wolves defeated the 100,000 Wild Lion Legion in one fell swoop. The 100,000 Wild Lion Legion was almost completely wiped out. Chapter 317. In this battle, the Yin Moon Empire had lost two powerful legions and was forced to retreat. After this battle, the prestige of the Burning Sun Empire's imperial family increased greatly. This was because the Scarlet Blood Cavalry and Tian Yun belonged to the imperial family. In the imperial palace of the Burning Sun Empire, excited laughter came from the throne room. In the throne room, Emperor Hua Zhengxing sat on the dragon throne. Below him stood all the officials. Ha ha ha, good good. Tian Yun is indeed a peerless genius with the potential of a dragon or a phoenix. This battle has greatly damaged the morale of the Yin Moon Empire, and our imperial family's prestige has greatly increased. We have regained our popularity in the hearts of the people. Hua Zhengxing laughed as his eyes shone with excitement. Congratulations, Your Majesty, for finding such a genius. Our imperial family has forgotten about this. A white-haired old official came up to congratulate. Congratulations, Your Majesty, for finding such a talent. The other civil and military officials all bowed and shouted loudly. Father, Tian Yun has done such a great service. We have to reward him. Xueqi walked out and bowed. Reward? Of course we have to reward him. How about this? Give Tian Yun the title of Marquis Champion, meaning that he can form any army and recruit any talents. Hua Zhengxing announced. Thank you, Father. Xueqi was overjoyed. Your Majesty is wise. The officials all congratulated. The news of Tian Yun being given the title of Marquis Champion shook the Burning Sun Empire again. Tian Yun's name was remembered by everyone because he was the youngest Marquis in the history of the Burning Sun Empire. In the palace of Heavenly King Suppressor. Marquis Champion? Damn it, this Tian Yun deserves to die. Heavenly King Suppressor's angry roar came from the palace. In a certain side hall of the Star General Hall, Lu Yuntian was sitting on a stone table in a small courtyard with a piece of white paper spread out. He was concentrating on writing. It was the character for Marshal. Lu Yuntian's brush strokes were bold and vigorous, as if they were about to break free from his grasp. Although Lu Yuntian's cultivation had been destroyed, the word Marshal still contained his essence. He finished writing in one go. Lu Yuntian exhaled deeply. Brother Tian, I believe that in the future Ming will definitely cure you and let you step onto the martial path again. Li Ping whispered as she saw through Lu Yuntian's thoughts. She understood how desolate it was for a martial arts genius to be unable to practice martial arts. Ping, as long as you're by my side, even if I can't practice martial arts, so what? Moreover, Ming-er's talent is countless times higher than mine. I'm satisfied. Lu Yuntian smiled. At this moment, a servant girl of about 20 years old hurriedly ran in. The maidservant was brought over by Li Ping from the Lu family and was very loyal. Chuanxiang, why are you in such a hurry? What happened? Li Ping frowned and asked. Master, Madam, good news. Good news. Young Master won a great victory at the border. Now, His Majesty the Emperor has already conferred young Master the title of Marquis Champion and announced it to the world. Chun Xiang said excitedly. What? Lu Yuntian froze, the brush in his hand falling to the ground. Li Ping was also stunned. After a while, she finally reacted. She was so excited that her whole body was trembling. Marquis Champion? Ming-er has been conferred the title of Marquis? Is it true? Is it true? Li Ping asked a few times. She thought she was dreaming. It's absolutely true. Master, Madam, the outside world is talking about this matter now. Everyone knows about it. Chun Xiang said. Ming-er has been conferred the title of Marquis. Brother Tian Ming-er has been conferred the title of Marquis. Li Ping whispered as tears rolled down her face. She couldn't help but lean into Lu Yuntian's arms. She was too excited. Why are you crying? This is a great thing. Why are you crying? Lu Yuntian hugged Li Ping and pretended to be calm. However, his slightly trembling voice could not hide his excitement. 2 days later, the news spread to Full Moon City. Marquis Champion, Marquis Champion. An inspiring roar resounded through the sky. On the northern grassland tens of thousands of miles away from Full Moon City. There were endless military tents here. At a glance, there was no end to it. This was the largest military camp in the south of the Yin Moon Empire. It ruled most of the southern territory of the Yin Moon Empire. Yin Tianjue, the south guarding king of the Yin Moon Empire, was stationed here. He was fully in charge of the attack against the Burning Sun Empire. At this moment, there were a dozen people sitting in Yin Tianjue's military tent. Yin Tianjue sat at the top, looking at a figure wrapped in a black robe in the middle of the tent. Yin Tianjue, why did your Yin Moon Empire retreat? Our plan is ruined. The black-robed man only revealed a pair of eyes. He looked at Yin Tianjue gloomily. Why did we retreat? Nonsense. Do you know how big our losses are? The entire Wild Lion Legion was annihilated, the Grey Wolf Legion was almost destroyed, and the Crimson Moon Demonic Tiger Legion and so on. Do you know how much it cost to train these legions? Do you know? Yin Tianjue slammed the table heavily and almost roared. The black-robed man was silent for a while and said, "This time we didn't foresee it. We didn't expect Tianyun to be so difficult to deal with." Haha, you want to shirk responsibility by saying that you didn't foresee it? Wishful thinking. Yin Tianjue sneered. When I came here, I already received the order that we will compensate for your losses. However, the plan still has to go on. Otherwise, this loss will be in vain. As long as the plan succeeds, we will give you a lot of benefits. The black-robed man said. Go on. It's easy for you to say. Who will be responsible for Tianyun's red blood cavalry? We can't afford to lose them. Yin Tianjue sneered. The red blood cavalry is not scary. The scary one is Tianyun. As long as Tianyun is dead, the red blood cavalry will fall apart. At that time we will be able to destroy them easily. The black-robed man said. What's your plan? Yin Tianjue asked. The black-robed man sneered and said, Assassinate Tianyun. Assassinate? Tianyun is hiding among the 30,000 red blood cavalry, and there is a powerful expert following him. It's not easy to assassinate him. Yin Tianjue said. Then let's wait. I refuse to believe that Tianyun will just hide in his barracks. Your country is famous for its assassination techniques, and I'm sure you're more adept than I am. Besides, this time, we'll be sending our strongest assassins to work with your country to kill Tianyun. The black-robed man's voice was filled with killing intent. Good. We will also send our strongest assassins to kill Tianyun. Also, I need to ask for reinforcements from His Majesty. I'm afraid that we won't be able to launch a large-scale attack in a short period of time. Yin Tianjue said. Don't worry. We can still afford to wait for 1 or 2 months. That's settled then. After the black faction member finished speaking, his figure moved, and he had already disappeared. Yin Tianjue thought for a while and then ordered, Summon the Yuan K twin killers to see Meve. Yes. Chapter 3:18. 3,000 miles northwest of Full Moon City, there was a quiet valley. Lu Ming appeared outside the valley. Then, Lu Ming moved and went into the valley. After about 1,000 meters, Lu Ming stopped. In front of him, there was a huge blood cocoon floating in the air. The golden eye blood zombie is going to evolve. Lu Ming whispered. That's right, the blood cocoon in front of him was the golden eye blood zombie. Previously, Lu Ming had led the golden-eyed blood zombie and the red blood armored cavalry to kill hundreds of thousands of Yin Moon soldiers. The golden-eyed blood zombie had absorbed too much blood and aura and had begun to evolve on the way back to Full Moon City. They could only find a quiet place to let it evolve. After Lu Ming returned to Full Moon City, He finished his business and rushed over to check on the situation. I don't know how long it will take for the golden eye blood zombie to evolve. Now it seems that the situation is stable. I'll go back to Full Moon City first and check on it later. Thinking of this, Lu Ming turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the sky. Soon after, he returned to Full Moon City. Greetings, Marquis Champion. Greetings, Marquis Champion. Once he returned to Full Moon City, the officials and the general of the mountain army bowed respectfully when they saw Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded in response. Soon, he returned to the Red Blood Army camp. Everything was normal. Hua Ying was indeed a good commander. Under his management, the Red Blood Cavalry and the other soldiers were cultivating hard. Lu Ming was very assured about this. In the Temple of Paragon, Lu Ming sat cross-legged. A huge stone tablet floated above his head. What was different was that there were 4 silver chakras around the tablet. That's right. Lu Ming's second bloodline had evolved. Lu Ming felt that the 9 Dragons bloodline had reached the limit of ordinary level 9, but it was difficult to evolve. No matter how much blood chi it refined, it was still at ordinary level 9. Therefore, Lu Ming had used the blood chi he had devoured to evolve his second bloodline. In that battle, he had devoured so much essence blood that his second bloodline had successfully evolved. His cultivation had also reached the peak of the 3rd layer martial ancestor realm. I don't know when the 9 Dragons bloodline will reach the king level. Forget it. I don't want to think about it. When the time comes, it will naturally come naturally. Right now, the 9 Dragons heaven step is the most important. Lu Ming pondered. After this period of cultivation, coupled with the continuous battles, Lu Ming finally had some understanding of the 9 Dragons heaven stomping steps. Lu Ming took out the secret manual of the 9 Dragons heaven stomping steps and read it carefully. Then, he closed his eyes and carefully comprehended it. An hour later, Lu Ming suddenly stood up and casually stepped to the side. Wang! At this time, Lu Ming's body seemed to resonate with the heavens and earth. His body emitted an inexplicable fluctuation that was extremely mysterious. What a strong pressure! At this moment, Lu Ming felt a terrifying pressure acting on his body. He felt as if his body was about to explode from the pressure. Dong! Finally, Lu Ming stepped on the ground. At this moment, the entire Temple of Paragon shook violently. The ground rumbled as if it was about to explode. Phew! After stepping on the ground, Lu Ming let out a long breath. The mysterious fluctuation on his body disappeared and the pressure on his body disappeared without a trace. What a strong pressure! No wonder Supreme Nine Suns told me that I must break through the martial ancestor realm and my physical body reach the 4th layer before I can cultivate the 9 Dragons heaven stomping steps. If my physical body and cultivation don't meet the requirements, I'm afraid I'll explode from the pressure. Lu Ming sighed. However, his eyes were filled with excitement. I haven't completed the first step yet, but the power is already extremely shocking. The Supreme Divine Palace is indestructible, but it actually caused such a vibration. If I took a step on the ground, I'm afraid the ground would explode. Lu Ming was extremely satisfied with the power of the 9 Dragons heaven stomping steps. It was indeed a divine-level martial skill. Continue. After that, Lu Ming continued to cultivate. He wanted to complete the first step of the 9 Dragons heaven stomping steps. Time flashed by and another month passed. In a month, the Xueqi cavalries had made incredible progress. With the continuous supply of medicinal pills, the remaining 30,000 Xueqi cavalries had all broken through to the martial master realm. This had greatly increased the strength of the Xueqi cavalries. Of course, the consumption of medicinal pills was also terrifying. 30,000 people had consumed the medicinal pills that were originally prepared for 100,000 people. That was why their cultivation had increased so quickly. Apart from the 30,000 Xueqi cavalries, the other soldiers' cultivation had also increased a lot. The fastest one had increased his cultivation by 3 whole levels. The worst one had increased his cultivation by 1 level. Lu Ming's army of 80,000 people had become much stronger. During this month, the outside world had not been peaceful. It could be said that a storm was brewing. However, there were 2 people who had attracted the most attention. One was Duan Mu Lin. After being silent for many years, Duanmu Lin had finally erupted. He had consecutively challenged 10 extremely famous golden grey disciples of the 5 great sections. He had won one battle after another. He had almost challenged the 6 heroes of the Blazing Sun Empire. Just when everyone thought that he would challenge the 6 heroes of the Blazing Sun Empire, he had stopped. This made many people wonder how strong Duanmu Lin was. The other person was even more shocking. He was Qiu Chongkong. For some reason, Qiu Chongkong had a conflict with Gu Yuyun, who was ranked 22nd on the Emperor leaderboard. The result was shocking. In the end, it had ended with Gu Yuyun being killed. Qiu Chongkong was ranked 36th on the Emperor leaderboard. However, he had killed Gu Yuyun, who was ranked 22nd. This was not only shocking in the Blazing Sun Empire, but also in the 36 empires of the Emperor leaderboard. Qiu Chongkong's strength had exceeded everyone's expectations. Among the 36 empires of the Emperor leaderboard, there were 8 middle-ranked empires. Of the 36 geniuses on the Emperor leaderboard, 32 of them were from the 8 middle-ranked empires. Only 4 of them were from the low-ranked empires. It was already shocking that Qiu Chongkong could be ranked on the Emperor leaderboard. This had caused an even greater commotion. These 2 pieces of news naturally reached Lu Ming's ears. However, when Lu Ming heard it, he smiled faintly and continued to cultivate. There is movement from the golden eye. On this day, when Lu Ming was cultivating, he suddenly felt that something was wrong with the demon suppression token. It was emitting a faint light. Perhaps the golden eye has completed its evolution. Let's go and see how much the golden eye can improve. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with anticipation. The golden eye blood zombie was already at the peak of the 7th realm of the martial arts Grandmaster realm. If it evolved again, it would definitely be stronger. It would be a great help to Lu Ming. Lu Ming left the full moon city and turned into a ray of light. He headed toward the valley where the golden eye blood zombie was. Lu Ming did not notice that not long after he left the full moon city, a few figures in the distant grassland rushed into the sky and followed him. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at the valley and walked in. In front of him, the smell of blood was extremely strong. The blood cocoon was filled with bloodlight. When Lu Ming stepped into the valley, the bloodlight in front of him suddenly shrunk. Crack! Chapter 319. This figure was the golden eye blood zombie. However, it was slightly different from before. Its golden pupils had become even more dazzling, as if 2 pieces of gold had been embedded in them. The green hair on its skin had faded a lot, making its skin appear blood red and translucent. It looked like it was made of fiery red steel and was full of power. The aura of the golden eye blood zombie was more than 5 or 6 times stronger than before. How could it be so much stronger? This aura is definitely not the aura of an 8th level martial arts grandmaster. Could it be that the golden eye blood zombie has reached the 9th level martial arts grandmaster? Lu Ming's mind raced and his eyes were filled with surprise. Roar! The golden eye blood zombie growled and came to Lu Ming's side. Let's go back to Full Moon City, Lu Ming said. Then, together with the golden eye blood zombie, they shot into the sky and flew toward Full Moon City. However, before they had flown for more than 10 miles, Lu Ming suddenly felt a chill down his spine. Roar! At this moment, the golden eye blood zombie let out an earth-shattering roar and rushed toward Lu Ming's head. Chi-chi! Above Lu Ming's head, a dark cloud suddenly split open. 2 pale white saber radiances, faster than lightning, slashed toward Lu Ming's head. Boom! Boom! The golden eye blood zombie and the 2 saber radiances collided. Then, the golden eye blood zombie's body fell to the ground like a cannonball. Swoosh! Just as the 2 saber radiances slashed out, a black sword radiance pierced through the void behind Lu Ming and stabbed toward him. This sword was fast, accurate, ruthless, and terrifyingly powerful. 9th level martial arts grandmaster. 3 9th level martial arts grandmaster assassins. Block for me! Lu Ming roared furiously. 6 ancient shields condensed behind him and stacked together. However, chi-chi. The 6 ancient shields were penetrated in an instant. However, this bought Lu Ming time. The second bloodline was activated instantly. He waved his left hand and a huge beast claw struck out. At the same time, He held the demon-banishing spear in his right hand and stabbed it out. The spear was filled with the power of wind and fire. Bang! The first to bear the brunt was the giant beast claw, which was destroyed by the sword light. Following that, the tip of the demon-banishing spear clashed with the sword light. Clang! A terrifying shockwave spread out and Lu Ming gave a muffled groan as he was sent flying back several thousand meters. Only then did he stop in the air and spit out a mouthful of blood. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, 3 figures flashed and appeared in the air. 2 of them were middle-aged men wearing blood-red robes. One of them had a full moon embroidered on it, while the other had a chipped moon embroidered on it. Both of them held a scimitar in their hands. The 2 of them stood behind Lu Ming, blocking his path of retreat. The third person was wrapped in a black robe, and his appearance could not be seen. He held a thin and black sword in his hand. He was in front of Lu Ming, and the 3 of them had faintly sealed off Lu Ming's escape route. This Tianyun is indeed difficult to deal with. I can't even kill him. The middle-aged man with a flawless full moon embroidered on it spoke. His voice was cold and hoarse, extremely unpleasant to the ears. That's a golden-eyed blood zombie. What a powerful golden-eyed blood zombie. It seems to have reached the early 9th realm of the martial arts Grandmaster realm. It's not weaker than the 3 of us. The middle-aged man with a chipped moon embroidered on it said. Roar! The golden-eyed blood zombie roared and rushed out from the ground, blocking in front of Lu Ming. There were 2 deep wounds on the golden-eyed blood zombie's claws, which were caused by the scimitar radiance. Lu Ming wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His gaze landed on the thin black sword in front of him. His eyes flashed as he said, "You're from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion, right?" He had seen that kind of sword more than once. Hee, since you're going to die today, there's no harm in telling you. You guessed right. I'm the top assassin of the Shadow Wolf Pavilion. It's your honor to have me. The black-robed man sneered. The Shadow Wolf Pavilion is actually cooperating with the Een Moon Empire. It seems that the Decimo Sword Sect is going to play a big game of chess. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Hee, you seem to know quite a lot. The Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin sneered. Charge! Suddenly, Lu Ming shouted softly and dashed to the left. What a joke! The 3 martial arts Grandmaster realm early-stage assassins were too strong. They were not people he could fight against. If he stayed, he would only die. Only by charging out would he have a chance of survival. Trying to escape? How is that possible? Dang! The 3 assassins roared and attacked. 2 scimitars and 1 scimitar radiance pierced through the void and slashed toward Lu Ming. Fast, too fast. They were behind Lu Ming in an instant. The martial arts Grandmaster realm 9th stage assassins were too strong. Roar! The golden-eyed blood zombie roared and rushed forward fearlessly. However, it was only 1 person after all. It was no match for the 2 scimitars and was sent flying again. If its body was not as tough as steel, it would have been cut into pieces. Clang! On the other side, Lu Ming used all his strength to exchange blows with the Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin. This time, Lu Ming was sent flying even further. He coughed up blood and one of his arms was covered with scars. He felt as if his entire body was about to split open. This blow had caused him to be even more severely injured. Kill! The Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin shouted coldly. His murderous intent surged as he continued to attack Lu Ming. Roar! The golden-eyed blood zombie rushed out from the ground again. Leave this beast to the 2 of us. You're in charge of killing Tianyun. Yuan Ke shouted coldly and charged toward the golden-eyed blood zombie. Don't worry. Tianyun will die. The Shadow Wolf Pavilion assassin's voice was extremely cold. His scimitar radiance became sharper as it pierced through the sky. A sword scar that was a few miles long appeared in the sky as if it was going to cut the sky apart. 9 dragons stomping the sky. Boom! At that moment, Lu Ming unleashed all his strength. His true chi surged as he roared into the sky and suddenly took a step forward. A strange wave of energy emanated from Lu Ming's body. Following that, a terrifying force exploded from Lu Ming's feet. A dragon's roar suddenly sounded. It was as if a supreme true dragon was stepping in the sky, crushing everything. After a month of hard work, He had finally mastered the first step of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. Boom! This step collided with the Shadow Wolf Pavilion Assassin's scimitar radiance. With an earth-shattering boom, Lu Ming's body flew far away again. However, the Shadow Wolf Pavilion Assassin was also stunned by this blow and stopped. How is this possible? The Shadow Wolf Pavilion Assassin let out a hysterical roar. He could not believe it. He could clearly see that Tianyun was only at the peak of the martial arts Grandmaster 3rd Realm, while he was at the early stage of the martial arts Grandmaster 9th Realm. There was a difference of about 6 levels. It could be said that they were worlds apart. With such a huge difference, it was already a miracle that Ling Yun could survive 2 strikes of his scimitar. But now, Ling Yun had actually blocked his attack. This was simply a fantasy. The Shadow Wolf Pavilion Assassin had lived for so long, but he had never heard of such a thing. His self-confidence had been severely damaged. Die! 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 The Shadow Wolf Pavilion Assassin roared and charged toward Lu Ming in a frenzy. Lu Ming's talent terrified him. 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. Lu Ming roared. This time, he did not step toward the Shadow Wolf Pavilion Assassin. Instead, he stepped toward the space behind him. As a divine martial technique, the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps was not only used for attacking. Chapter 320. With one step, Lu Ming's figure suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already 10 miles away. 10 miles in one step. This was the terrifying power of the 9 dragons' heaven-ascending steps. Moreover, Lu Ming had only mastered the first step. According to the records of the 9 dragons' heaven-ascending steps, when cultivated to the highest level, one would be like 9 dragons. With one step, one could travel hundreds of millions of miles. It was unimaginably powerful. Right now, Lu Ming was still far from it. Damn it, you can't escape! The Shadow Wolf Pavilion Assassin roared furiously and chased after Lu Ming. To a martial arts grandmaster, 10 miles was a matter of a few breaths. Without thinking, Lu Ming took another step. With a flash of his body, he moved as fast as lightning and crossed a distance of 10 miles under his feet. Puff! Suddenly, Lu Ming's body trembled and he spat out another mouthful of blood. He was already severely injured. Using the 9 dragons' heaven-ascending steps consumed a lot of energy. Moreover, the pressure from heaven and earth was also extremely great. This caused his injuries to worsen. The difference was too great. There was no way he could fight back. He could only escape. Swoosh! Behind him, the Shadow Wolf Pavilion Assassin chased after him relentlessly. Even further behind, the Golden Eye Blood Zombie was holding Yuan Ke back. Tianyun, hand over your martial technique and I'll leave your corpse intact. The Shadow Wolf Pavilion Assassin shouted. The martial technique Lu Ming used was too shocking. He was envious. If he could get it, how strong would his combat power be? His desire to kill Lu Ming grew even stronger. What a joke. If you have the ability, come and get it yourself. Lu Ming sneered and took another step. Buzz! Heaven and earth trembled slightly. Lu Ming's body was like a bolt of lightning, sweeping across the void. In an instant, he was 10 miles away, widening the distance between him and the Shadow Wolf Pavilion Assassin. Damn it, damn it. I don't believe you can use such a powerful martial technique continuously. Today you must die. The assassin from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion roared loudly, and a huge black wolf rose from his body. He chased after Lu Ming with all his might. Every time Lu Ming took a step forward, he would take 2 breaths, and then take another step forward. It was these 2 breaths that allowed his opponent to close the distance between them. Just like this, one fled while the other chased. In the blink of an eye, they had crossed 1,000 miles. Lu Ming's body was bleeding profusely. The continuous use of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps had caused him too much damage. His skin cracked open and blood flowed freely. The true qi in his body was becoming increasingly scarce, and he could not hold on for much longer. Suddenly, there was a burst of moisture in front of him. It was a great river that was incomparably wide, surging across the prairie. Day! Lu Ming's eyes flashed as he took another step along the river. 10 li away, Lu Ming looked ahead. The great river forked in front. Moreover, it wasn't a single fork, but rather a fan shape, opening up 5 forks, 5 branches, flowing towards the entire prairie, nurturing the creatures of the prairie. The heavens are helping me. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Without thinking, he plunged into the great river. The river was extremely deep, more than 100 meters deep. Lu Ming sank directly to the bottom of the river and swam rapidly forward. Swoosh! In just 4 to 5 breaths, the assassin from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion appeared above the great river. Trying to escape? Dream on! Kill! The assassin from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion shouted loudly as he slashed out with his battle sword. Dense and sharp sword chi shot toward the river. Instantly, the river surged, and many large fish were killed. Their corpses floated to the surface, and blood dyed the river red. Die, die! The assassin from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion seemed to have gone mad as he continuously slashed out sword chi at the river. Boom! Boom! Sword chi shot out continuously, covering the entire river surface. At the bottom of the river, Lu Ming swam like a fish, dodging the sword chi. Splat! However, the sword chi was too dense, and one sword chi still pierced through Lu Ming's shoulder, almost chopping off his arm. Blood flowed profusely. Lu Ming snorted and continued to move forward. 5 forks appeared in front of him. Lu Ming chose one at random and swam down quickly. Above him, the assassin from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion ravaged this part of the river as if he had gone mad. However, he still did not see Lu Ming's figure. Then, he rushed into the river and started searching. After searching everywhere, he still could not find Lu Ming. When he reached the fork, his face was completely distorted. He did not know which fork Lu Ming had gone to. Moreover, it was impossible to chase after the enemy based on the aura in the river. The river water would disperse the aura. Swoosh! He rushed into the sky and looked around. Then he roared furiously, "Damn it, damn it!" Lu Ming followed the river and swam down. He did not know how far he had drifted. Lu Ming felt more and more weak. His vision turned black, and he felt waves of intense pain all over his body. He knew that his injuries were too severe previously, and they were acting up now. No, I have to find a place to heal. Otherwise, I'll be in danger. Then, Lu Ming wiped his face and took off his disguise mask, revealing his true appearance. His body had already returned to its original state due to his injuries. Then, he changed into a new set of clothes. Lu Ming continued to drift along the river for a while, in case the assassin from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion caught up to him. In the evening, a group of people hurried along the main road beside the Sioux River. There were more than 10 people. Most of them were burly middle-aged men. They exuded a heavy aura. It was obvious that they were martial arts experts. Riding at the front were 2 young people, a man and a woman. The man was handsome, but his long and narrow eyes gave people a gloomy feeling. The woman wore a long green dress. Her figure was graceful, and her curves were undulating. She was extremely beautiful. However, the woman seemed to have something on her mind. Her brows were tightly furrowed. Stop! Suddenly, the woman shouted softly. She pulled the horse under her and made it stop. The others also stopped. "Emoing, why did you suddenly stop?" the young man asked with a frown. "There's someone ahead," Emoing said. The group looked ahead. Indeed, they saw a figure climbing out of the Sioux River. After the figure climbed onto the bank, he staggered as if he would fall down at any moment. "Yin and Yang." The figure looked at everyone and suddenly screamed. Then he fell straight to the ground. "He's just a dying man. Why do you care so much about him? Let's hurry back to Tiansu City. The young prince came specially to see you. Don't keep him waiting." The young man casually glanced at the figure and said nonchalantly, "I want to save him." After saying that, Emoing jumped off her horse and walked toward the figure. "What? You want to save him? You want to save a piece of trash like him?" the young man shouted. However, he did not see the shock in Mo Ying's eyes. How did he know? Can he cure me? I'm the only one who knows about this. But this person can tell at a glance. I must save him. Mo Ying thought as she helped the figure up. She was slightly shocked when she saw him. He's so young. The figure who climbed out of the river was naturally Lu Ming. He drifted along the river for a while. Unexpectedly, his injuries were more serious than he thought. Chapter 321. Lu Ming tried his best to climb to the shore, but he was already exhausted and could faint at any time. But then, he saw Mo Ying and the others. The moment he saw Mo Ying, his 9 dragons bloodline throbbed for some reason. He could clearly feel the cultivation situation in Mo Ying's body. Mo Ying's bloodline was definitely related to dragons. He realized that there were 2 types of qi in Mo Ying's body. That was why he screamed before he fainted. His purpose was to attract Mo Ying's attention. Mo Ying would definitely not abandon him and save him out of curiosity. He guessed right. Mo Ying was very curious about him. Mo Ying, there is no fluctuation of genuine qi in this person. He is obviously an ant. Why save him? Leave him here and follow me back to Xueqi City. It will be hard to explain to the young prince if he waits for too long. At this time, the young man walked over and glanced at Lu Ming, urging him. Mo Bing. Mo Ying's face flashed with displeasure. She shouted coldly, if you are in a hurry to return to Xueqi City, you can go back first. Also, I am not going back to Xueqi City to see the young prince. I just want to go back. There is no need to explain to anyone. If you want to explain, do it yourself. Also, this person is seriously injured. If I don't save him, he will not live for long. I must save him. Mo Ying's tone was resolute. You? Mo Bing's face was livid. Then, he glared at Lu Ming viciously and turned to leave. Mo Ying looked at Lu Ming and frowned slightly. Lu Ming's injuries were too serious. This person is definitely a martial artist. Maybe he has exhausted his genuine qi. Otherwise, how could he see the abnormality in my body at a glance? But this person's injuries are too serious. I am afraid it will not be easy to save him. Mo Ying thought for a while, took out a fragrant pill and fed it to Lu Ming. The pill melted in his mouth and turned into energy that flowed into Lu Ming's body. After a while, Lu Ming's face became a little rosier. Come, help him onto the horse. We will go slowly. Mo Ying ordered. Yes, Miss Ying. A middle-aged man stepped forward and helped Lu Ming onto a horse, letting Lu Ming lie on the horse. After that, Mo Ying got on her horse and moved forward at a speed that was not much faster than a normal person's walking speed. Mo Ying, you're doing this on purpose, aren't you? You're walking so slowly on purpose. Have you thought about the consequences of standing Little Prince up? Little Prince is the son of our Yinhua Empire's Zhennan Prince. Mo Bing shouted coldly. You keep calling me Little Prince. I'm not Little Prince's dog. I can see whoever I want. I can walk as slowly as I want. No one can stop me. I've said it before. If you're impatient, you can go back first. Mo Ying replied coldly with a hint of mockery. What did you say? Mo Bing was furious. But Mo Ying sneered and ignored him. Little bitch, just because you have some talent, you think you're a proud daughter of the heavens. Just you wait. One day, I'll make you regret what you said today. Mo Bing roared in his heart, but he did not say it out loud. The group moved forward at a leisurely pace. Half a day later, Lu Ming woke up. As soon as he woke up, he felt a stabbing pain all over his body. I've been cut by the Silver Wolf Pavilion Assassin's sword qi and the pressure from using the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps. My muscles and bones are all cracked. Fortunately, my internal organs are not seriously injured. I should be able to recover soon. Lu Ming secretly observed his injuries and pondered in his heart. Then, Lu Ming struggled to sit up and circulated the True Dragon Battle chant to heal his injuries. At first, he did not use any true qi, but after circulating the True Dragon Battle chant several times, a wisp of true qi began to appear in his body. With the circulation of the True Dragon Battle chant, the true qi in his body increased. On the side, Mo Ying looked at Lu Ming and did not disturb him. On the other side, Mo Bing glanced at Lu Ming and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. He thought, so he's a martial artist. Humph, this time, it's all because of him that we're late. When we get back to Xueqi City, I'll teach him a lesson. 2 hours later, Lu Ming had recovered 1% of his true qi. At this time, he took out 2 spirit crystals and held them in his hand to speed up the recovery of true qi. The wounds on his body were healing rapidly. At the same time, the internal injuries deep in his body were also slowly healing. This was the benefit of having a strong body. His body had reached the 5th grade, so his recovery and vitality were extremely amazing. If an ordinary person suffered such injuries, they would have died several times over. Half a day later, Lu Ming barely recovered 1/20th of his true qi. The injuries on his body were also much better, and there were no more bursts of stabbing pain. "How's your recovery?" At this time, Mo Ying rode over and asked. "It's a little better. This time, thank you for saving my life. Lu Ming will remember it in his heart." Lu Ming clasped his fist and said, "This was the Yue Empire. Of course, he could not use the name Tianyun, or he would be killed on the spot. So, he simply used the name Lu Ming. You don't have to thank me. It's just a small matter." Mo Ying pondered for a while and asked in a low voice, "Young Master Lu Ming, before you fell unconscious, you shouted that qi is divided into yin and yang. What do you mean?" "Finally, you can't help it." Lu Ming smiled in his heart and said, "You know the answer. If I'm not wrong, your bloodline should be related to the dragon. But in the process of cultivation, there is a problem. The true qi you cultivate is biased toward yin, but there is yang true qi in your bloodline. So, yin and yang are not in harmony, which often causes you to suffer." Lu Ming spoke very softly, and only Mo Ying could hear him. After hearing this, Mo Ying's eyes lit up. She was very surprised and said, "Young master, you can see it at a glance. It's completely correct. My bloodline is the cloud dragon. Like the flood dragon, I have the bloodline of the true dragon. But I don't know why there is yang true qi, which repeatedly interferes with my cultivation. I wonder if young master has a way to solve it?" After saying that, she looked at Lu Ming with a hopeful face. She had secretly looked for famous doctors and some famous inscriptionists, but she could not find a solution. She had been in despair, but now there was hope. "It shouldn't be difficult. As long as you suppress the yang true qi and take it out, it will be fine. But to do this, you have to wait until my injuries are healed." Lu Ming said, "Really? Well, I will buy the best elixir to let you recover as soon as possible." Mo Ying was overjoyed. Lu Ming nodded. He planned to go to Sutian City with Mo Ying first. After his injuries were healed, he would return to Full Moon City. Otherwise, with his current situation, he wouldn't even be able to fly. If he were to encounter a slightly stronger demonic beast along the way, he would become its food. That would be too unjust. Not far away, Mo Bing saw Mo Ying talking to Lu Ming as if they were very close. He immediately roared in his heart, "This little bitch is really a slut. She must have taken a fancy to this little bastard. Humph, when we reach Sutian City, I will report to the young master. Let's see how you will die." Chapter 322. The Yin Moon Empire and the Burning Sun Empire were completely different. In the Yin Moon Empire, the royal family was extremely powerful and controlled everything. Below them, there were a series of powerful aristocratic families that obeyed the royal family and ruled over thousands of miles of land. Su Tiancheng was extremely majestic and was one of the top 10 cities in the Yin Moon Empire. The Mo family in Su Tiancheng was also extremely prosperous and ranked in the top 10 among the aristocratic families in the Yin Moon Empire. Along the way, Lu Ming learned a lot of information. For example, Mo Ying was originally a collateral disciple of the Mo family. However, she was extremely talented and was heavily nurtured by the Mo family. Now, she was already one of the top 5 geniuses in the Mo family, and her cultivation had reached the first level of the martial arts grandmaster realm. With such a status, she would be treated well in the Mo family. She had her own courtyard and more than 10 servants. Once they returned to the Mo family, Mo Ying brought Lu Ming to her courtyard so that Lu Ming could recover better. In a guest room in Mo Ying's courtyard, Lu Ming sat cross-legged. With a wave of his hand, a pile of spiritual herbs and spiritual medicine appeared beside him. Here, Lu Ming could finally relax and recover to his heart's content. Immediately, he activated the 10,000 spirit battle body and turned the spiritual herbs and spiritual medicine into 10,000 spirit qi. The 10,000 spirit qi seeped into his body and quickly healed Lu Ming's injured body. Lu Ming's body was recovering rapidly. A few hours later, Lu Ming finished healing his body and activated the true dragon of combat skill to recover his genuine qi. When he finished cultivating, it was already evening. Knock knock. There was a knock on the door. Lu Ming opened the door and saw Mo Ying. Apparently, Mo Ying had just finished washing up. Her hair was still wet and stuck to her face. She had changed into a black gauze dress and her graceful figure was faintly discernible under the gauze dress. She was extremely seductive. Mo Ying was indeed very beautiful. Among the women that Lu Ming had seen, Mo Ying was only slightly inferior to Xian Yanqing, Xian Yanjuan, Autumn Moon and Mulan's. She was a rare beauty. Brother Lu, these are the healing elixirs that I just bought. Take them. Mo Ying took out a few jade bottles and handed them to Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not stand on ceremony either. He received the jade bottle and said with a smile, "Many thanks, Miss Mo. There's no need to be so polite. I won't disturb Brother Lu's recuperation." Mo Ying did not say much. She said a few words of courtesy and turned to leave. After Mo Ying left, Lu Ming raised his head and looked towards the north. That direction was the depths of the Mo family. For some reason, as soon as Lu Ming arrived at the Mo family, he felt that there was something in the depths of the Mo family that was attracting him. To be precise, it was attracting the 9 dragons bloodline, making it feel as if it was cheering. What exactly does the Mo family have? It actually caused the 9 dragons bloodline to jump for joy. Looks like I'll have to stay in the Mo family for a while longer. Lu Ming looked in that direction, deep in thought. After pondering for a while, Lu Ming returned to his room to recuperate. Just like that, 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. After 5 days of recuperation, Lu Ming's injuries had completely healed and his cultivation had returned to its peak state. To be able to fully recover from such a serious injury in just 5 days was extremely shocking. This was completely dependent on the divine level cultivation method, true dragon tactics, and his rank 5 physical body. In these 5 days, Mo Ying often came to visit him, but she did not mention a word about treating him. I wonder what the local customs of the Yingyue Empire are like? It's rare for me to come here. I'll take a look. Lu Ming smiled, then walked out of Mo Ying's courtyard and casually strolled around Sutian City. Sutian City was really big. In the Burning Sun Empire, among all the cities that Lu Ming had seen, only the Burning Sun Empire was bigger than Sutian City. On the streets, there was an endless stream of powerful martial artists. Around the streets, there was a forest of shops. There were all kinds of strange things, some of which were specialties of the Yingyue Empire. Lu Ming had only seen them in books before. Now that he saw the real thing, he could not help but buy some. Little bastard, stop right there. Lu Ming had just strolled for a while when a cold voice came from behind. Lu Ming turned around and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Wasn't that Mo Bing? Mo Bing's face was gloomy as he strode towards Lu Ming with 4 big men. Little bastard, who are you calling? Lu Ming said lightly. Of course, little bastard is calling you. Mo Bing said coldly. Oh. So it's little bastard calling me. Hello, little bastard. Lu Ming said with a smile. You. Only then did Mo Bing react. His face was livid. The 4 big men behind him almost could not hold back their laughter, but looking at their slightly trembling body, it was obvious that they had a hard time holding back their laughter. You have a sharp tongue. Do you want to die? Mo Bing's face was incomparably ugly. He stared coldly at Lu Ming and said, I think your injuries have almost healed. In that case, quickly get out of the Mo family. Mo Ying's courtyard is not a place where you can stay. The longer you stay, the more miserable your death will be. Is that so? I'd like to try. Lu Ming smiled, not caring at all. Brat, have you taken a fancy to that girl Mo Ying? Do you want to hit on her? Let me tell you, that girl Mo Ying is someone that the young prince likes. If anyone wants to hit on her, He will be going against the young prince. Only death awaits him. Mo Bing threatened. Little prince? Who does he think he is? Lu Ming said lightly. Mo Bing's face suddenly changed and he shouted, Boy, you're courting death. Men, break his legs and throw him out of Su Tiancheng. Yes. Behind Mo Bing, the 4 big men responded in unison. They took large strides forward, emitting powerful auras as they closed in on Lu Ming. 9th layer martial master realm. The 4 big men were all 9th layer martial masters. Whoosh, whoosh. The 4 big men attacked together, aiming at Lu Ming's hands and feet. They were going to cripple his limbs in one blow. Bang, 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 bang. In the next moment, 4 crisp sounds could be heard. 4 tall figures were sent flying far away and fell to the ground. Each of them hugged an arm and cried out in agony. It was the 4 big men. At this moment, one of their arms was twisted into a fried dough twist, broken into 7 or 8 pieces. Mo Bing was stunned. He kept blinking his eyes, thinking that he was dreaming. The 4 martial artists at the 9th level martial master realm had their arms broken in an instant and were sent flying. He did not even see how Lu Ming did it. How was this possible? This person that they had randomly bumped into on the side of the road who was about to die was so strong. Was he a martial ancestor realm genius? You said you were going to break my legs? Lu Ming smiled and walked toward Mo Bing. Mo Bing's expression changed greatly. He could not help but retreat and shouted, You? What are you trying to do? I'm an elite disciple of the Mo clan. These servants can't compare to me. If you dare to touch me, I won't let you leave Su Tiancheng. However, Lu Ming was not moved at all. He walked toward Mo Bing step by step. Cold sweat started to appear on Mo Bing's face. His eyes were filled with fear. In the end, he screamed and turned to run. Lu Ming smiled coldly. He flicked his finger and shot out a few streams of energy, hitting Mo Bing's legs. Chapter 323. Both of Mo Bing's legs were broken by Lu Ming, and blood flowed out. Mo Bing wailed again and again, and even tears flowed out. Around them, a large number of onlookers were shocked. Mo Bing was a genius disciple of the Mo family and was very famous in Su Tian City. Who was this person who dared to break his legs? Many people looked at Lu Ming and secretly guessed. What are you shouting for? Now get out of here. Lu Ming shouted angrily. The 4 burly men struggled to get up as if they had been pardoned. They used the other hand to support Mo Bing and ran away. Lu Ming did not care and continued to stroll on the street. After strolling for a while, he went back. As soon as he returned to Mo Ying's courtyard, he ran into Mo Ying. Brother Lu, have you recovered from your injury? Mo Ying asked. Lu Ming nodded and said with a smile, It's almost healed. That. Mo Ying stammered, wanting to say something but hesitated. Lu Ming smiled and said, Let's go and see how the true qi in your body is. Okay. Mo Ying was overjoyed. Then to my bedroom? Or to your bedroom? Lu Ming asked. Mo Ying was stunned, and then her face turned red. After pondering for a while, she whispered, Let's go to my bedroom. Lu Ming nodded and walked to her bedroom with Mo Ying. Mo Ying's bedroom was decorated very elegantly, with a faint fragrance. The 2 sat cross-legged on the bed. Miss Mo, there may be some presumptuous actions later. Please forgive me. Lu Ming said. Presumptuous actions? Mo Ying's face turned even redder, and her big eyes were misty. Lu Ming was speechless. This girl was too shy. I haven't started anything yet. Mo Ying took a deep breath, as if she was going to throw caution to the wind and said firmly, Go ahead, I'm fine with anything. Anything? Lu Ming's heart could not help but flutter. A man and a woman alone in a room, and a young and beautiful girl said, Go ahead, I'm fine with anything. This was too much for one's imagination to run wild. I didn't mean that. When Mo Ying thought about it, even her ears turned red. The 2 of them stared at each other for a long time before they slowly calmed down. Then, Lu Ming and Mo Ying's palms touched each other. Lu Ming channeled a stream of true qi into Mo Ying's body. Mo Ying's genuine qi was strong and condensed, and it was unusually cold. However, within the cold true energy, there were traces of blazing true energy that intertwined with the cold true energy. In this way, Mo Ying's genuine qi would not be pure, which would greatly interfere with her cultivation. Sometimes, she would even experience alternating between hot and cold, which would be extremely painful. Only by removing the blazing genuine qi could Mo Ying's shackles be lifted. By then, Mo Ying's cultivation speed would be even faster. As expected, the true qi nurtured by the cloud dragon can actually take the form of a dragon. Lu Ming discovered that Mo Ying's cold and blazing true qi were both in the shape of dragons, intertwining with each other like tiny dragons. It was very similar to the true qi cultivated by the true dragon battle art. However, the dragon-shaped true qi cultivated by the true dragon battle art was more lifelike and lifelike. After observing for a while, Lu Ming withdrew his genuine qi. "Brother Lu, how is it? Can you get rid of the young attribute genuine qi?" Mo Ying asked nervously. This was related to her future path of martial arts. Of course, she was nervous. Lu Ming nodded and said, "It shouldn't be a big problem. The two types of genuine qi are too deeply intertwined. It can't be completely removed in a day or two. I estimate that it will take about 10 days. It's okay, it's okay. It's worth it no matter how much time it takes," Mo Ying said excitedly. She had endured it for more than 10 years. Why would she care about 10 days? "Well, that's good. Take off your clothes," Lu Ming said. "Okay." "Ha, what? Take off my clothes?" Mo Ying nodded subconsciously. When she came to her senses, she let out a deafening scream. "Well, I need to directly suppress your blood meridians from your spine. That's the only way to get rid of the young attribute genuine qi," Lu Ming explained helplessly. Mo Ying's face turned red. After pondering for a while, she gritted her teeth and turned her back to Lu Ming. Then she slowly took off her clothes. Suddenly, a jade-like body appeared in front of Lu Ming. Although it was only her back, the amazing curves were still visible. Lu Ming's heart raced and he almost lost control. Lu Ming desperately looked away. He took a deep breath to calm himself down. Then, he stretched out his palm and placed it on Mo Ying's back. When he touched it, it was delicate and smooth. It was as if he was touching a piece of nephrite. Mo Ying's delicate body trembled. She moaned and her body became hot. Even her back turned red. Buzz! At this moment, Mo Ying's back trembled slightly. A strong blood-red light was emitted. Roar! A cloud dragon that was as white as jade emerged and roared at Lu Ming. "How dare you!" Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and the 9 dragons' bloodline appeared. It was only in the shape of a python. However, when the cloud dragon saw the 9 dragons' bloodline, it seemed to be terrified. It wailed and sank into Mo Ying's back. It did not dare to move. "Devour!" Lu Ming's palm exuded a powerful devouring force. He pressed it against Mo Ying's back and the devouring force gushed out. The yang-type true qi in Mo Ying's genuine qi was instantly extracted and refined by Lu Ming. Although it was not very fast, it was very stable. Mo Ying's delicate body trembled slightly. Fine beads of sweat appeared on her smooth back. 2 hours later, Lu Ming stopped. Phew! Mo Ying let out a long breath. Then, she carefully observed her genuine qi. She was so excited that her body trembled. "It's really been extracted. It's really been extracted." Mo Ying turned around excitedly and looked at Lu Ming with excitement and gratitude. However, Lu Ming's eyes widened and he stared straight at her chest. "Ah!" Mo Ying screamed again. Only then did she realize that she had not put on her clothes yet. She hurriedly put on her clothes. Her pretty face was as red as an apple. Lu Ming coughed awkwardly. If he had not told Mo Ying's servants not to barge in, Mo Ying's servants would have barged in by now. This time, only a part of it has been extracted. It will take another 8 or 9 days. Lu Ming changed the topic. "Thank you, Lu Ming." Mo Ying had forgotten her embarrassment. She was extremely excited. The problem that had troubled her for many years was finally going to be solved. "Let's continue tomorrow." Lu Ming smiled. "I'm okay." Mo Ying nodded cheerfully. In the following days, Lu Ming spent 2 hours every day to help Mo Ying extract the yang qi. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. The yang qi in Mo Ying's body was almost completely extracted. Mo Ying's genuine qi suddenly became several times faster and smoother. She even broke through a realm and reached the second realm of martial arts grandmaster. On the 8th day, just as Lu Ming was extracting the remaining yang qi from Mo Ying, there was a sudden noise and screams outside. Young master, Miss Ying is really cultivating. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.